Welcome back to Macrodosing, the only podcast that you can find on iTunes. There are two podcasts now that you can get on Spotify. It's this one, it's the sit down. So thank you for listening. I think you chose wisely. It is Macrodosing. We've got nearly full house here today. We have in studio Avery. We've got Mad Dog, Big T, Billy. We've got Arian via Zoom, and then Coley's on his honeymoon. So Coley's having sex for the first time, probably right now. Actually, as I'm saying this, Coley is fucking. Congratulations!
He's got our podcast on in the background. Beautiful.
I've actually heard that Macrodosing is the best podcast to have sex to.
Yeah,
it's
this
like
is peer-reviewed study. Absolutely,
peer-reviewed study. Yeah, it's like I guess you could say maybe Brian McKnight if you're listening to music. Macrodosing if you're listening to podcasts, the world's sexiest podcast, guaranteed to get you in the mood. That actually has not been fact-checked, but I'm just going to say it. I choose to believe that it's true. And before we get into today's episode, which is going to be a great one, by the way, we're all very excited about it. It's about mass hysteria. We talked about it a little bit on the last episode that we had, but various mass hysteria cases throughout the last 600-700 years. Really interesting stuff. As Arian just put it, this episode is all cap. It's the cap episode, right?
big cap. Whole episode full of number cap.
There we go. Whole episode full of cap. And before we get into it, I want to talk to you about our great sponsor, BetterHelp. You guys know that life can be full of stressors. It doesn't matter who you are or what you have going on. Your life is probably stressful. You might be feeling down. You might be feeling depressed. You might not be feeling depressed. You might not be feeling like you're at a total loss. But if your stress is high, your temper is shorter than usual, or even if you're starting to feel strained in any of your relationships, you could probably just use the chance to unload. Unload the stress, get it out, talk to someone who's completely unbiased about your life, someone who isn't going to judge you or take sides on anything. I personally have spoken with a therapist in the past. It's helped me when I've been feeling down, when I've been going through loss in my life. Just talking it out sometimes is able to help me out. Makes you feel better, makes you feel like you have a load off your shoulders. Aaron, I know that you speak with somebody too. You feel better after having a session. It's just good to get our thoughts and emotions out there, right?
Mandatory. Normalizing expressing yourself will usher us into an empathetic place.
I love it.
I'm a fan.
Mandatory. And BetterHelp is a great way to get started. If maybe you're a little bit intimidated about therapy, well, BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that can offer video, phone, even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Unload the stressors, get some unbiased feedback. You'd be pretty surprised at what you might gain from it. You can just see if it's for you, because this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/dose. That's BetterHelp.com/dose. 10% off. Great way to get started. Make you feel better. Feel like you unload a little bit. Get rid of some of that stress. You'll thank us later. BetterHelp.com/dose. All right, mass hysteria, all cap episode of Macrodosing right now. Mass hysteria. We talked about it last week when we discussed the incident that Za brought up from his childhood school in Zimbabwe. One explanation for seeing the aliens that they saw there could have been mass hysteria, or it could have really happened. We don't know. But then, Avery, you were just saying that the BBC did a follow-up report on our podcast, right?
Yep, exactly.
What'd they say about it?
They said they loved our podcast and that we're really awesome and handsome.
Okay, great. Thank you, BBC. Wow. Longtime stoolies at the BBC. We love it. And, yeah, we got a lot of different mass hysteria things to get into. I think everyone's taken a side here. Just want to say I've been on a little bit of a vacation recently. I was down at the Jersey Shore for the last week and a half at probably what I would have to assume would be Arian Foster's least favorite place in the entire world to go, because there is a dog beach right next to my house, and it combines your two least favorite things, right? A beach for dogs, and it's actually my favorite place in the world. I love going there and just meeting the new dogs. But they all kind of look at me cross-eyed because they know that I've got that association with you, and so you're putting a bad name in front of dogs for me.
I'm okay with that, actually. That might save you, actually. But yo, don't fuck with him. So your chances of getting bit lowers because of their hesitancy to come around you. So you're welcome for that. And what the fuck? Do they just shit on the beach? I guarantee they shit on the sand, don't they?
Yeah, you can't tell a dog where to shit.
But we can.
Yeah. Well, they probably kick the sand up on it.
Yeah, they probably do a great
Yeah.
job. I mean, fish shit in the ocean all the time.
Yeah, that's where they live though.
Yeah.
There's no shore dogs naturally on like get the fuck out of here.
Beach dogs. They're beach horses. I know I've seen beach horses before.
Those are like on islands though, right?
Yeah. They just typically get stranded after Spanish shipwrecks a few hundred years ago. And then they're like, oh, they're native to this land. It's like, no, they just swam to shore. But yeah, the dogs do shit on the beach. They shit in the sand. But if you're going to shit somewhere, why not shit in the sand? That feels like cats cover up their shit and litter all the time. It feels pretty natural, actually. I think we lost Arian.
Do we? Oh.
Yeah.
The island is called Assateague Island National Seashore in Virginia,
Is
and it
power
had
cut out?
wild horses.
Oh, are you going?
Yeah, we'll get
Okay,
back.
all right.
We just keep going. Get back
Okay.
to Arian when
Sorry, I
he
thought you were just saying that.
Arian's power cut out. It's the Texas power grid. It's
Yep.
been under fire recently. So, yeah, it's Assateague Island.
Yeah, Assateague, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Assateague, and then Chincoteague Island is right next to
Yeah.
it. My family used to go there all the time when we were kids. And, yeah, they do, like, this pony swim every year where the fire department basically corrals all the wild ponies on Assateague,
Yeah.
makes them swim across the channel, and then sells them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. They wrote a book about it and everything.
That's really cool. That's like a myth. They like didn't know where these horses came from, and then they found out that the galleon called La Galga, which is Spanish for greyhound,
Mhm.
was the source of all these wild horses.
Yeah, there are just tons of just bands of wild horses that just roam across Assateague Island.
That's
it's
awesome.
pretty cool. Big T, it's good to see you back.
It's good to see you as well.
Did you have a good vacation?
Yeah.
What does a Big T vacation look like?
I was basically just working in Nashville.
Yeah.
Played golf once. Went to a sports bar that all my friends hate twice, but I made them go.
Which one?
It's called Double Dogs. It's delicious. You can take dogs there.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
You have to eat outside, but
So why do your friends hate it?
they say it's not good. But it's like a very I said that because it speaks to when you said what's vacation for Big T like. It's like the most basic sports bar you could ever think of, and it's like my favorite place in the world.
I love that though.
So I went there twice. Yeah, that was pretty much it.
Okay. Did you get drunk?
No,
Did you have a beer?
no,
So you like going to sports bars but not drinking at sports bars.
that's correct. Yeah.
That is kind of weird to me.
Well, this one has great nugget ice, so you have to get like a Coke with the ice, so that that's one of the best parts.
So it's the soft ice like at Sonic?
Oh, it's better than Sonic.
Better than
it's
Sonic
bigger
ice?
chunks. It's like the size of probably like Chick-fil-A nuggets,
Wow.
but it's soft as hell. It's just perfect.
Okay, so you go there. You go to sports bars for you are the guy in real life who's like, yeah, I read Penthouse for the articles.
Yeah.
You go to sports
Yeah.
bars for the. What do you get? Like if you're feeling frisky, do you get a cherry Coke?
Oh, I love cherry Coke.
Yeah,
That's what I get when I go to Chick-fil-A.
that's
Cherry
like
Coke.
that's your cocktail. Since you're not
Yeah.
a drinker,
Yeah.
it's like Shirley Temple.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds like fun.
It was great.
What about you, Mad Dog?
I went home to Cleveland and hung out there, tried a Alpha Billy with some eggs. Fortunately, did not realize I couldn't bring them back on my plane. But yeah, went to an Indians game.
We don't say that anymore.
Went to a Cleveland Baseball Club game. Yeah, just went home, hung out. I realized that I like New York more than Cleveland. I was right the whole time.
So that tweet was accurate. That says a bad day in
Oh
New
my
York's
God.
better than a great day in Cleveland.
Yeah, people in Cleveland are fired up. There's like merch made about it now.
Yeah,
in Cleveland.
I was gonna say that tweet launched like 1,000 T-shirts.
Yeah, Cleveland. Okay, Cleveland's like known for making merch about themselves. Like I have like 6 Cleveland sweatshirts from like companies that are purely Cleveland merch. So yeah, I got a bunch of shirts that were like Cleveland over New York any day, and someone said that they like Cleveland more because there's a lower cost of living and no rats. I don't know if that's.
I don't think that's true about. I think that there are rats in Cleveland. I'm gonna go
There-
out on a limb and say that rodents exist there.
Objectively, there are rats somewhere in Cleveland. Lower cost of living makes sense, but also it's just no offense to Cleveland, I love Cleveland, but a lot more boring.
Next Paul fight's gonna be in Cleveland.
Yeah,
Just
and the
announced.
Pauls are from the city I grew up in, so that's objectively just like 3 stoops down.
Do you have like a billboard? Because used to be a big thing, at least when I was growing up. You'd take a road trip like through the South, and it was like every time you drive through, I want to say Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, there'd be a giant sign that says Myrtle Beach, home of Vanna White, and just a giant ass picture of Vanna White. Do they have billboards like that for the Pauls?
No, not for the Pauls.
I could see the Pauls making their own billboards though.
No, the Pauls like biggest move when Vine was really big was going to like our local mall and like going to the food court and just like standing on tables and doing shit like that. No, the Pauls are like notoriously hated in Cleveland.
You guys don't claim the Pauls?
No one claims the Pauls in Cleveland.
You're a Drew Carey place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big Drew Carey people, but no, the Pauls are like, we're out on the Pauls in Cleveland.
Okay.
What about Machine Gun Kelly?
Oh, big Machine Gun Kelly. Well, he has he has like a coffee shop down there now. So people go down there and it's called the 27 Club. So it's all like products named after people who are part of the 27
It sounds
Club.
like you do like Cleveland.
I love Cleveland. Like, I love the city. I could not live there right now.
What's his coffee called? Does he have like his own brew?
I don't think he has his own brew, but all of it's like pink. And people like come there and like people would go on road trips to go to this place. But
27 Club
called,
Coffee.
Yep. And it's like super, it like just opens, like kind of like super trendy. Yeah, everything's pink and like.
Yeah, this looks like it should be in the East Village somewhere.
Yeah.
We got Arian just joining us back. Arian, what's the power grid situation like down there?
I think the dogs is cutting my line. Fucking my shit up. But we good. We back.
It's probably PETA. PETA's probably like, I can't have this person's opinions hit the internet any longer. You're inspiring violence against dogs. You're inciting violence.
I would think they would be in my pocket, actually. Because I'm not necessarily inspiring violence. I'm saying stay away from them, period. Like, don't kidnap them or their kids either. Like, that's my thing.
I saw a couple dogs this weekend that I wanted to kidnap, just like straight up from their owners, because I felt like I could. I don't know. I fall in love very easily with different dogs that I meet. It's a problem that I have.
I think PETA wouldn't like Arian because he
go to any hood USA and see if you feel the same way.
Wait, are you saying like with a dog that grew up in a hood? Or are you saying like people?
No, I'm saying those dogs that struggle to eat.
Yeah,
and they're stray and they're walking around, like those are the type of dogs I'm saying.
Okay, I love those dogs. I love those. I actually heard a story recently. The reason why I asked about people, I heard a story last week about this group. It's like an animal rights collective, and they'll just straight up go out on the street and they'll kidnap dogs from homeless people, and then take them in and feed them, give them the shots, and then get those dogs adopted out to like they're just straight up stealing the one thing that a homeless person has. And I was like, I'm just going to go out on a limb here. It's the whitest thing that I can ever imagine is somebody seeing a homeless person being like, I'm going to take their dog and then I'm going to make sure that their dog is well fed and has a place to sleep at night. Like, fuck the homeless person. And then I'm going to get that dog put into a home for the rest of its life so it can live a healthy, full life. Let's just forget about the actual person that's still on the street. That when I heard that story, I was like, Arian's not completely offline when he's talking about how we do care for animals more than we care for people sometimes.
It's not even close, man. And like those kind of stories are rampant all over the place. Like you can like if you kill a dog like in a certain way, like you can get more time for killing the dog than you do from killing a person. It's wild.
Yep. Hey, listen, we love our woofers.
Yeah, also there's people who kidnap dogs for dog fighting. That's what scares me. Like if my dog got kidnapped and I went on like a Keanu Reeves to find my dog because he's in some like fighting ring somewhere.
What? No one would do that to your dog.
It's an irrational fear I have.
You neutered your dog.
No, but like for like bait dogs.
Oh, but no, I don't think Whitey would be a bait dog.
Yeah, he would because he's neutered and he's nice.
Yeah, but they won't. I don't think that they would use a neutered dog for that. They'd be like, whoever owns this dog is very clearly a beta, and took its testicles away from it. So
we should let our killer dogs get it.
Do you think it'd be better or worse to have a dog that's completely white as a bait dog? Because then the blood shows up more. Is that a good thing?
Bro, I don't know. I don't even want to think about it. Let's not talk about it.
Okay,
anyway.
no more dog fighting talk.
Be on some Liam Neeson
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's that movie?
Well,
Taken?
there's Taken and there's John Wick.
John Wick. I'd go John Wick. I go absolutely ballistic.
Billy Wick.
Billy Wick.
Billy's John Wick scenario would be like he'd roll up to the very first thing and get shot by the first person that he tried to fight, and that's the end of the movie.
Movie over.
Movie over.
Oh,
Movie
boy.
But you'd be doing the right thing, Billy.
Yeah.
All right, before we get into mass hysteria, I did have one last thing that I want to bring up. So this morning, I woke up, checked the Twitter timeline, as I usually do on days where we have a show that comes out, just see what the people are saying. I got tagged in something this morning via our intern here, Mad Dog, on a podcast. Was it the Chicks University podcast?
It was Chicks
It was
University.
a Chicks University podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't know how. It's kind of weird. I don't know how I feel about it, honestly. Apparently, she got dressed up as me for Halloween.
I did.
Was that this year?
Yeah.
You dressed up as me for how long was the list of costumes that you decided not to get dressed? Like, I had to be pretty far down that list, right?
Not really. Well,
Wait, how did you dress up as him this year for Halloween?
I have a football guy shirt, so I wore that. And then just like joggers, and then I had sunglasses and a baseball hat, and I had a pack of tin that I found on the ground on the way to the bar, and then I had a cardboard sign that said, "Is Joe Flacco a elite quarterback?"
Where,
and then
where can I find this?
I'll send the picture in the group
Well, I mean,
chat.
what would you do about the facial hair? You had to have some facial hair, right? Because that's
no,
everyone knows
no.
I've got a beard.
And then I just like let my hair down, and then my best friend dressed up as Big Cat.
All right. It's honestly kind of weird, but
I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. It's honestly it's probably the laziest costume.
It was.
Last minute costume that a girl can pull off if
Yeah.
they have long hair. It doesn't even matter if you have brown hair or blonde hair or whatever. Just like put on a hat and sunglasses. Try to look like the Unabomber, and guess what? I'm PFT commenter for Halloween.
Yeah, I was really hungover, and so like no one, like all the girls at the bars at school were dressing up, in like normal people costumes, and then I was just like wearing my sunglasses the whole day, and no one got it.
No one got it? That was
No.
going to be my next question. Like, was there at least one person there that was like, oh, it's PFT?
No, well, because I wasn't holding up. I feel like the sign helped, because if you like listen to Pardon My Take, then you could get it. But I wasn't holding up the sign just like at the bar, so
That would be hilarious to get their
if I just held the
attention.
sign. And then, well, like, and my best friend had like a Larry shirt on, and she had a goldfish like cracker in a bag representing Larry. No one got it. I would say like, oh, we're PFT and Big Cat from Pardon My Take, and then they would be like, oh, yeah, but no one really appreciated it. I thought it was funny. I posted it on my own Barstool page at school, but
My costume is not your culture. Or wait, no, other way around. My culture is not your costume. I feel offended by it. Let's see this picture. Yeah, this is okay. This is a very lazy costume.
it
I
is.
gotta
It's
admit.
objectively lazy, but
You just wanted to wear sweatpants and then wear a hat because you didn't feel like washing your hair.
If it wasn't for
Yeah.
the sign, it wouldn't be a costume. She's just dressed.
but I also have I have the football guy shirt.
Yeah, but
on.
like that's just a shirt that we sell. Like people
Yeah, but
wear
it's
that
a
shirt
PF
when they're not in a costume.
But PFT wears that shirt,
I do wear that shirt,
and yeah,
and I wear hats, and I wear sweatpants
all of
and
I mean,
sunglasses.
and I found the pack of tin, and I thought that was accurate too.
Arian, what
I'ma
do you
give
think
this
about the costume?
I'm gonna give this a 2.
I
I'm
know.
sorry, Mad Dog.
I
Mad
know.
Dog, just lazy, bro.
It's okay. I understand that it was lazy, but I also was like, I wanted to do this for a couple years, and no one would do it with me. And my friend's in AWL too, so she,
Hers might be lazier than yours.
Yeah, hers. She
She
doesn't.
needs
Yeah.
the mustache.
Well, I mean, we've had an interesting week of girls getting compared to Big Cat here. It's not,
Very.
you never want to say like, yeah, you know what, Mad
She
Dog, you're
looks
right. Your friend looks exactly like Dan
Cat.
Katz.
no. So I mean, we were both really hungover, and we thought I still to this day think it was a fun costume. I thought it was funny, and then people that I posted on my Barstool account at school, and people told me to delete it, not knowing that I ran the account. But people were like, delete this, and I was like,
You just need to do. You need to do facial hair. You need to do.
I could have done a
there's
lot of
just-
things better.
You could have gone
Yeah.
whiteface actually, because you're more tan than I am. You could have put
that's a
makeup
stretch.
on to get more white.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I titled the picture Electric Avenue. Like I thought, I hit some crucial details.
Arian, has
Do you-
anybody ever dressed up as you for Halloween?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you know what's funny? There's this dude that was going around Houston for like a week, taking pictures with people, pretending to be me, and people were believing that it was me. And like some girl, like I was getting them, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then some girl was like, "Hey, so happy to meet you." She tagged me, and I was like, that's not me, fam." And like it like blew up, and I ended up meeting her and taking a real picture with her. It was funny.
I'm looking up the picture right now. Sorority girl and Texans #1 fan tweets photo with fake Arian Foster.
Yeah.
This is pretty funy. Like this guy.
Yeah, I could just imagine
this is the guy
like
right
him
here.
just walking around like, "Hey, are you Aaron?" And be like, "Yeah, I am actually." Yeah.
That actually trended this morning on Twitter. There was a picture of a guy's mother with Snoop Dogg, and it was really an impersonator. And he posted it and said, "Yeah, how do I tell my mom that this isn't actually Snoop Dogg?" And it trended.
Lol, I appreciate the love, but that's not me. Yeah, you replied right to it. I wonder how many different girls. You think this guy has like any kids in Houston, and like the girls think that you're the dad?
I'd have been hit up by a lawyer already.
Yeah, probably. They would have fucked that one up. Yeah.
The guy does look fairly similar. When he had short hair.
The facial hair, I'd say is somewhat similar, but no, I think
not similar enough to tweet that it's one of your favorite football players, and you didn't know.
This girl very clearly did not play fantasy football.
Obviously.
We know that.
Obviously.
That's funny though. All right, that guy should have gotten dressed up as you for Halloween though.
That'd have been fun.
That would have been fun. Okay, yeah, and then here I see the picture of you posing with the girl who got tricked. What was that interaction like when you met her? Were you like, how you can't tell the difference between me and a fake me?
It was I think it was like big at the time. Like that was when like there wasn't a lot of like Twitter interactions with fans or just internet interactions with fans. It was like kind of a new thing, and so like it was cool to just reach out to her and be like, "Yo, if you want a real picture, meet me here." And that was actually at a gym that I worked out at during the off season, and so we met. But it was cool. She was cool.
Has anybody ever dressed up like you, Big T?
I would sincerely doubt it.
I don't know. I feel like this is the year for Big T.
I don't know.
Just the one? Just the one?
I think this is. I think this Halloween, spooky season coming up, we got to get one person to get dressed. Actually,
we should all just dress up as Big T.
I will send you Macrodosing merch if you dress up like Big T for Halloween.
it's a pretty easy
I will personally
outfit
send
to
you
pull
merch.
off.
Yeah, it's not much hard. It's probably easier than yours.
Yeah. Well, I would like to
get
see
that definitely not a murderer shirt on the merch. That's,
Yeah.
that shit is amazing.
Any news with that? With Scott Pearson's retrial?
No, not yet. Not that I've heard.
You played that pretty cool.
I
Wipes away
don't
the
get
sweat.
it.
No, I'm just saying, like you absolutely know if there had been an update,
Yeah, I haven't heard
your
anything.
Google alerts
So,
would have gone nuts.
Yeah, probably. I'm 100% serious. I don't care if I have to pay for it. If there's another trial, I'll be there.
I love it. You'll
For
be
the
our correspondent.
duration.
You're going to be our Nancy Grace,
Yeah.
but of Scott Peterson thinking that he's innocent.
Updates after
What do you,
the
what do
conclusion
you
of
mean?
every day.
I don't care if I have to pay for it.
Well,
Who's
I don't
gonna
know if
sponsor
Barstool would pay for that for however long the trial would take. But if not, I'll foot the bill. I don't care. I've got to be there.
I would love to see your business model for why it would make sense for Barstool to pay for you to go to that trial.
The content that would come out of that would be incredible.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, it probably would actually.
It would.
Yeah.
Where
all right.
where would the trial be?
I would assume Northern California because that's where the first one was.
Yeah.
Let's
So
do
it
it.
would
We
have
could
to
we
be
could take a
in
trip to
I
Napa
could-
on the way. I'm
Hell
game
yeah.
for this.
I could just imagine the comparison of Dave like at Tom Brady's hearing versus like him at like an actual murderer's hearing. You're innocent.
Okay.
I
First of all, a couple things here.
I would hope that they'd have the same courtroom artist, and it's like Big T in the background with his face looking all like kind of postmodern in that weird way that they did Tom Brady. You look like the Scream.
Couple
that
things.
painting.
Number one, I don't sound like that at all.
I thought it was pretty good.
No, that sounded nothing like me. And he's not a murderer. He was convicted incorrectly of murder. That does not
Listen,
make you a murderer.
He's not a murderer. He was just found guilty of murder.
Correct, but found guilty unjustly with no evidence.
There's something to be
Allegedly.
said for that. You can be convicted of being a murderer, but not necessarily being a murderer.
That's a fact. You are not necessarily a murderer because you were convicted.
But
of
Scott
murder.
Peterson definitely a murderer. All right, so either get dressed up as Big T or just get dressed up as
Don't
Lake
do
Lanier
that.
Yes.
for Halloween.
Oh, did y'all see there was a new Lake Lanier video? Did y'all
Yes,
see
I
that?
wanted to mention that for first of all, happy July 4th, everyone who had it. Thank you for buying all the merch. Looked awesome. A lot of people sent this that they bought the new merch. You can still buy it. I still think it looks sick, like
Good
even
shirt.
not 4th of July. Great shirt. But we got sent this Lake Lanier video. I just sent it in the group chat. You got to watch the guy in this video.
Oh,
It's not even so much about the woman that falls in. It's just how casual the guy looks when she
He's
falls
living.
in. He's just like, here, take my beer. I got to go drag her out of this hole.
Yeah, it's a couple of women twerking on the back of a boat, and one just falls right into Lake Lanier.
It looks like she gets dragged. Like
Bottom tier twerking, by the way. Bottom.
Yeah, low effort.
Yeah, and he fuck, he didn't want to dive in after her. He said, "Oh, let me put my beer down first. Let me make sure that I don't spill my drink trying to save this female."
The other video of the huge houseboat just slowly going down and everyone jumping off.
Yeah,
That wasn't even like a houseboat. What was that?
It was a dock, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was a one of those like double decker pontoon style docks, like a floating dock, right?
And it's just going down, and
It's like the Titanic.
I saw it with the Celine Dion song set to it. It was pretty funny.
Did that person die in this video?
They
that you
slipped.
just sent us?
They slipped right by the motor.
Because if those boats were moving, are they going through the water
no,
at the
it's-
time?
No,
It's
it
stationary.
was docked.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that guy was like, "Fuck that! I'm not getting in this. I'm not touching foot to this lake." So yeah, get dressed up as Lake Lanier for Halloween, or Big T, whichever one, or get dressed up as Mad Dog, and that's just put on a shirt.
Just wear clothes.
Yeah. All right. Well, Halloween is kind of mass hysteria, isn't it? In a way,
Originally.
it's like we all just get dressed up as shit, and then we go out and we expect people to give us candy.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of weird. But the real mass hysteria events are like way more fascinating because they get into like psychosomatic stuff where your brain can actually make you sick, which, man, that's fucking wild. That's trippy stuff. But if you're asking what is mass hysteria, yep.
Real quick, it's really wild. Nobody really pays attention to, and this is a little grotesque, but I've always thought it's insanely weird that you can make yourself orgasm while you're sleeping. Your brain can do that. So the wet dreams, like that's wild. Like you could just orgasm by thinking about this shit. That and then I think it's pseudosciasis. It's where a woman can think that she's pregnant and develop pregnancy symptoms. Her breast can swell. She can miss her period. Like it's wild. Like just off of thinking about this shit. That's insane.
Yeah, and sometimes women can be pregnant for like 8 months and not realize that they're pregnant, and then just straight up give birth and have had no idea. That must take I don't know. Again, I'm not a woman, but I would imagine that you'd have to be pretty ignorant about your body to not know that you were pregnant for 8 months.
I couldn't. I don't know what it's like to be pregnant, so
Could be wrong about that.
Won't pass judgment on an 8-month-old pregnant lady unbeknownst to her.
There you go. Okay, I take it back. Just get pregnant however you want. Deal with it however you want. I will never experience it. But what is mass hysteria? Mass hysteria is an outbreak of abnormal illness behavior that cannot be explained by physical disease, and it can affect people who would not normally behave in a certain fashion. It can exclude collective manifestations used to obtain a state of satisfaction unavailable singly, such as fads, crazes, riots. So we're not talking about swing music, although you could be like, yes, that was pretty fucked up in the late 90s, how everyone just pretended that we were all in big bands and wore giant suits, and then the Gap had some fucked up commercials, and everybody pretended that swing was cool again. That's not included in mass hysteria. It can be kind of divided into two different buckets. There's mass anxiety hysteria, and then there's mass motor hysteria. Mass anxiety hysteria is physiological symptoms that are consistent with things that you can get if you have severe anxiety. So if you ever had an anxiety attack, or you know someone that has, maybe you just felt anxiety, you can actually get dizzy from anxiety. You can get headaches. You can hyperventilate. You can have actual heart palpitations. You can throw up. You can pass out just from anxiety. And that's all your brain. Your brain is essentially tricking your body into thinking that it has some sort of severe illness wrong with your body itself, but it's really just rooted in something that's happening in your brain. So it's your brain controlling all these symptoms. Then there's
also it's like it triggers the fight or flight response in you, like so physiologically, like you like evolutionarily, it's a good tool to have in case there's danger around. But like your brain can actually send your body into that. I've experienced it many times in the last couple of years. Shit is terrifying.
It's bad. I've had a couple of like borderline anxiety attack situations. I haven't had one for probably like 10 years, but when I was in my 20s, I had 2 separate instances of them, and my entire body just broke out into this weird like cold sweat, and I just felt like I had to go run somewhere. Like my body was restless. I couldn't sit still whatsoever. It was all based in my head. And so that would be like there can be things that are mass hysteria related that are rooted in anxiety, certain types of anxiety. There's a second kind, which is more characterized by almost pseudo seizures or just seizure-like events that can alter a person's motor function in a very specific way. So those are the 2 types of mass hysteria. And also, I thought that there was something weird about the term mass hysteria when we first started looking into it. If I were to just say the word like hysteria to you, Arian, what do you think of when you hear the word hysteria?
Like a Simpsons episode when a house is on fire and everybody just running around crazy like that. That's what I think of when I think of hysteria.
Just pandemonium.
Yeah, pandemonium.
What about you, Big T?
Yeah, I would consider it more mental, I guess, than physical. Like when you look this stuff up, you were talking about like physical symptoms of illness and things like that. When I hear hysteria, I think like a bunch of people in an uproar about something, whether necessarily or otherwise. But yeah.
What about you, Billy?
Yeah, I think like hysterical people or like hysterical, just like basic, just like craziness.
Mm-hmm. So maybe I'm just the only sexist in this room right now, but I thought women. It's a term that's always used to describe women. Like, oh, you're being hysterical, right? Like if you say to somebody like if they're being if you think they're being unreasonable and you're acting hysterical right now, that's something that I usually associate with people using as like a pejorative term to talk down to a woman.
To gaslight women.
It might be, yeah. Mad Dog, am I way offline in thinking that?
No, also...
Please speak for all women, by the way.
Okay. From all women. Actually, I did, when I was doing my research for this, there are, like, way more mass hysteria events that involve women more than men. And people think it's, like, pretty much because women are involved in more... It says women are involved usually in more stressful situations. So they react with mass hysteria, but I feel like in the Middle Ages, I don't know what they were up to, but I cannot speak for middle-aged timed women. But I've been called hysterical once or twice.
So the word hysteria, actually, I did some research on this. By research, I mean I looked at Wikipedia.
Google.
The word hysteria originates from the Greek word for uterus. Hyster, which is why they call it a hysterectomy, right?
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I think a lot of times when you don't have an actual medical term to pinpoint why somebody's acting weird, you can just be like, oh, you can dismiss it as they're acting hysterical. And if most of the doctors throughout history, at least until very, very recently, have been men, they don't know necessarily how to diagnose something that might not be, or they're quicker to dismiss something as simply being in someone's mind if it's coming from a woman than if it were to come from a man and was like a situation that a man had found themselves in. So whether that be like postpartum depression, that used to be something that women would just be dismissed as like, oh, they're hysterical for whatever reason, because it hadn't really been studied. And they said that doctors, to treat hysteria, Egyptian doctors would put strong-smelling substances on the patient's vulvas to encourage the uterus to return to its proper position. So basically, there's like anytime a woman was acting abnormally, it's like, oh, your uterus is probably flipped. You got
Yeah,
the
do
old,
they think it's like moving around in there?
that's the catch-all problem that you're dealing with, right? Oh yeah, if I've seen it once, I've seen it a million times. You got a flipped uterus. Let's switch that
It's like
sucker
when you have
back.
the hiccups.
Well, there's the theory on the whole thing, which we can get into in depth later, is that anybody with intense societal constructs around them, that cause like conformity are more prone to hysteria and to these things. And, you know, for example, it occurred a lot in the Middle Ages in nunneries who were put under intense like religious belief systems and stuff that, you know, caused hysteria. So this could be the common denominator that like shows that, you know, it's not women being hysterical. It's that they're put under pressures that cause that.
Right. That actually that's very smart, Billy. We got the return of smart Billy right now. Because if you're in a nunnery, or is it called a convent? I don't know.
It was called a nunnery back
Nunnery.
then.
Nunnery is such a cooler word for it. Sounds like a place that you'd find like cute little birds. But if they're in the nunnery and their life is very, very structured and rigid, then they have no form of expression, really.
Mm-hmm.
And so since they spend all day abiding behind a very strict set of rules, it's no wonder that the uterus is going to flip over once or twice. So
there was one like event of mass hysteria that I saw. I don't know if one of you guys are talking about it, but where in a nunnery they all started meowing.
Yeah.
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 So can we, before we get into the individual ones we have, can we talk, because I thought I was going to be the only one that thought this, but Arian thinks it too. So in my mind, there's kind of two, like under mass hysteria, we have that, right? Like nuns just start meowing and then the other ones do it and they keep, that's nonsense. But then there's mass hysteria like War of the Worlds, where like something that people heard, they didn't know what was happening, sent people into a panic and caused them to do irrational things. That makes sense to me. That's what I think of when I hear mass hysteria. But like people like, oh, I hear somebody else meowing, that makes me meow. No, you're just a dumb person. Like that's nonsense.
Dude, Big T, I guarantee you, if I locked you in a room with 6 nuns and they just kept meowing, within a week you would think you were a cat.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
No, it's not. It's how the human brain works. If you're trapped in an environment like that, that's so unusual, for long enough, you'll break down.
So
You know, I think we can attribute a lot, and like when I was young growing up, right? I didn't grow up Christian. I grew up Muslim, right? But you know, I knew Christian cats, and like I would go to their churches, and like motherfuckers used to like speak in tongues, right? And speaking in tongues was wild to me. When I first heard it, I was like, what the fuck is going on? I had no idea because I hadn't heard of it. And so like they just like right? It's like it's nonsense. But like when you're in that environment, in that church environment, and everybody's feeling it, and it's that Holy Spirit, they feel like it's in, and then you just start murmuring gibberish. Like that is a form of mass hysteria, in my opinion, where it's like you're doing it in the confines of that environment to kind of like fit in, but then after a while it starts to feel like, oh, this is what it's supposed to.
Yeah,
it's supposed to feel.
I actually think that's like a perfect example, because they've grown up in that environment. They've seen it all the time. They've probably seen, I don't know, if not an aunt or an uncle, maybe their grandparent like speak in tongues, or somebody that's sufficiently moved by whatever the preacher's saying. So it would make sense to them that it's a normal reaction to have. And so that's what I'm saying, Big T. If it was you and 4 meowing nuns in this room, I give it 3 days before you're begging for a saucer of milk.
That's what I'm saying too. Like those people don't start speaking in tongues because it like overtakes their body. They're doing because they're like, oh, everybody else is doing this, I'm supposed to do it.
Right.
That's just a weak-minded person.
Or
that's not like,
or a very social, a very social creature that copies actions around it.
That's
yeah,
how it's. That's the reason why that's a better. The reason why that's a better way of explaining it than just casting them off. This is coming from an atheist, right? But why that's better than just casting them off and calling them weak is because a lot of people, especially in religion, at young ages, they feel ostracized that they don't feel what everybody else is feeling, and so they just fake it until they have convinced themselves that that's exactly what they feel.
Yeah, like, and then eventually they start to take pride in how good they are at speaking in tongues. And they're like, I'm really good. When I go off like this in church, I get a lot of attention, and people look at me like I'm being moved by the Lord, and that makes me feel good, and then that reinforces that behavior.
But I would even say that's also different than like the one I'm talking about, the laughter epidemic, where people just started laughing and then they see like that's the speaking in tongues thing. If you have a conscious thought that you're like, the people that like my parents and family are doing this, the rest of the church is doing this, I'm supposed to be doing it, and then that somehow becomes like routine to you, I think even that's different than some of these other things. But I don't know how to articulate what I'm trying to say necessarily.
Why don't we get into the laughter epidemic? Because, you know, the listeners probably have no idea what we're talking about.
Okay,
Yeah.
so yeah, mass hysteria events, let's get started with it. We each have one that we're going to break down here. Big T, go off. This is the
Tanganyika laughter epidemic.
All right.
So Tanganyika was a country in Africa. It's modern day Tanzania. So in 1962, there was a boarding school in Kasasha, and there were 3 girls who just started laughing. And it ended up like, this says 95 of the 159 students at the school, that were between 12 and 18, had symptoms where they just started laughing, like they couldn't stop. And eventually it spread from the school to like that village and the neighboring villages, and like all around the country, and even into, I think, some other countries in Africa. Like, people just wouldn't stop laughing. That, I don't understand that. I don't really get it. They said it could have been stress induced because earlier that year Tanganyika had won its independence, and so some scientists said that maybe students were stressed by higher expectations from their parents and teachers. But yeah, so basically all the kids in this school just started laughing, and they wouldn't stop.
Okay, and it started with 3. Now, at the exact same time they started laughing?
I think so. I think, like, I don't have a timetable for that, but it said it started with 3 girls and spread throughout the school.
Well, what I thought about this, and looking at through like this idea that pressures cause this behavior, it's like, think about when you're in school, right? And your buddy says a funny joke during class, and you're just trying not to laugh, but you can't stop laughing. Then your other buddy starts laughing because you can't stop laughing.
But then after 2 minutes, it goes away.
Right, but then your teacher yells at you, and then other people start laughing. So these are missionary. Most of these schools were missionary schools, so there was a certain level of strict discipline and sort of kind of like harsh, like authoritarianism in these schools that probably was used as a form of oppression, but like prevented students from like showing their emotions and really restricted. Like, this was something new that was probably in a couple of these missionary schools across the world. And we can talk about the spread of Christianity being this like very conservative, like oppressive thing, and that's why they say that a lot of this was happening, because they were so stifled to stop laughing that they just couldn't stop laughing because of this intense social pressure.
I like that, Billy. I like Billy's overarching hypothesis, which is just like the more controls you put on people, the more their body and mind is going to start to lash out. It's like if you have a dog that you just like make sit in a crate all day, the dog's going to go nuts, right?
And they say that there was 2 sociologists that put forward this idea that it was a very culture-specific epidemic, but that was sort of, there was tones of like, like a little bit of like, not xenophobia, but like a little bit of racism, being like, oh, this is only happening in third world countries. But in reality, it's a product of oppressive programs that are probably not all, like, it's a different culture coming in, like this insane like strictness. Then it causes like a opposite reaction.
You know what this tells me is that these schools in Tanzania had some weak ass assistant principals, because this is basically the assistant principal's job. If like 2 people start fucking around in class, you call in the assistant and he shuts that shit down real fast. He's like, I'm putting you in my office. If you keep doing it, I'm calling your parents. Like, that whole thing. That's really what an assistant principal does. I don't even think they have a real job besides just disciplining kids. But that's like AP 101. That's the first thing that you learn how to do your first day on the job as assistant principal, is like, oh, 2 kids are having too much fun in class. You better shut the fuck up, or else your parents are getting a phone call. Like, I could have stopped that in about 6 hours.
How many assistant principals did y'all have in school? We had like 8. And all of them were like what you did. They were just like assigned alphabetically, like A through J or whatever.
We had 1 per grade. So in high school, every grade had an assistant principal that all reported upstairs.
And they just those were the people that you were scared of, not the principal.
Yeah,
the principal's awesome.
It's their only job. The principal gets to be your friend. The assistant principal or vice principal is the one that they have to play the heavy. Good cop, bad cop.
Did y'all have counselors? Like, we had counselors.
Yep.
So, yeah, those were the cool ones. The principal and assistant principal was they were the
Deans.
We had deans.
yeah, they would round them up.
You guys had deans?
Yeah.
Dean.
Private school.
If there's one thing that college movies have lied to this country about consistently, is that the dean is the head of every university.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, where the fuck do we come up with that thing? Because a dean is, they're probably like fifth or sixth in line in terms of being in charge. It's always like the chancellor or the president of the university. There's really, I don't even think I ever met a dean when I was in college.
Yeah.
I think ours were deans were like you were the dean of a college, like the College of Journalism, not
Mm-hmm.
like the university.
Right.
So there were like 20 of those.
I had deans in high school though. Like it would be like, but there was like a dean of student life, so she was like the bad cop. And there was like dean of academics and dean of like whatever.
So Big T, did they tell you how they stopped laughing?
I think eventually, so they shut down some of the schools. Like they just said this school, they sent them to like different schools. I think it said 14 schools were shut down and over 1,000 people were affected. And
So hold on, was it like they couldn't stop laughing while they were together, or like they were laughing on the way home and shit?
I think it started out like that, but then it spread to villages. Like they went from their school back home, and then people in the village started laughing. So like I think it was just like kind of an all the time thing.
So it was just like uncontrollable, nonstop laughter for 24 hours. Like I feel like that's
There were
I
also
feel like
they were accompanied by
sounds a little-
descriptions of fainting, respiratory problems, rashes, crying, and screaming.
crying and screaming while you're laughing.
I could see the crying and screaming coming in when it's like if you are not feeling like you have to laugh and you're in that town and everybody around you is just laughing for 24 hours. I might start crying. I might start screaming, be like, "What the hell is going on?" I might feel like I'm the crazy person. And if you're laughing for that long, you're probably that hurts after a while. Like after 30 minutes of nonstop laughter.
Like I've had like those are some of the best times of your life, right? Like for those of you who have had best friends out there, like when you have like a inside joke with your best friend and you just die laughing for like a minute, minute and a half straight, and then you look at them and then it starts right back all over again. Like those are some of the greatest times of all time. What you're saying is they started laughing and they didn't stop for days. Like
I think symptoms lasted from a few hours to 16 days.
you see that, and that's where the cap comes in. See
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I would like more documentation, because like in order to laugh that long, like think about it, that's a hell of an ab workout, right?
They had to go to sleep at some point, so like they woke up and just started laughing again. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah, I see, and this one I just when I started researching all of these, it was like they're all from long time ago. There's some that were now, right? But they were just like, man, you can kind of cast them off. But like the ones from a long time ago, like the further back and the less documentation and the less evidence, then the more obscene that they were. And so it's like, if I find it hard to believe that human beings have laughed for 24 hours straight. Like I just don't see how that physically is possible.
I agree.
Yeah, at some point you have to, like, their body would just kind of give up on you. You'd just be too tired to laugh anymore.
And if you really did laugh for 16 days, like you're just I don't know.
About to get real philosophical here for a second. Maybe not philosophical. That might not be the right word. But what is crazier? If you're just thinking of like, okay, what is really more of a hysteria event? A town that's laughing for, just call it 48 hours nonstop, or a town that straight up goes to war against a town that's right next to it and they all slaughter each other? What's weirder?
Depends what the reasons for the war are.
Because I would say,
Laughing.
I would say, because like
Noise complaint.
straight up like murdering each other nonstop. War's probably a mass hysteria event, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
yeah.
that's fair.
Yes.
Because
It's hot take though.
logistically it makes no sense. I mean, I guess
Well-
it goes back to like human emotion. Like you get mad about stuff. This is ours. This is not yours. I feel threatened by you, so therefore I have to eliminate the threat. But just the act of like having completely, totally different societies murder each other nonstop. And in order to get everybody in your society like on the same page and be like, hey, we all agree that we're going to go to war against these people because they put the butter on their toast, butter side down, like Dr. Seuss used to say. That to me feels more like a mass hysteria event than just cracking up for a couple days.
I mean, I don't think that's that hot of a take. Like I would categorize religion and the majority of like expansion politics as mass hysteria, as people just trying to find a way and a reason as to why we're here, as well as justifying the insane shit that we do. Like, it's wild.
Well, almost everything that we do, I guess, could be considered weird by somebody that isn't a part of our society. Like, if you, let's just say we were born in Japan and you hadn't been exposed to anything outside of like Japanese media. Maybe you grew up in like a real traditional environment, and then you came to America and people are like trying to shake your hand and shit. You'd be like, wait, why do you press the ends of your arms next to each other and then squeeze on them when you introduce yourself to somebody? That probably feels like a weird thing. Like every custom that we do, I guess, could be considered mass hysteria. But I guess the difference in this,
domesticating dogs.
Yeah, hell yeah. Listen, if domesticating, if that's mass hysteria, then consider my uterus flipped, man, because I'm guilty as charged on that one. All right, so Big T, has there been any follow-up on this in the last, several years, or is it just kind of one of those things that's like, it's over, let's just hope that it doesn't happen again?
Yeah, I don't really, I haven't heard anything from it recently, other than just the most popular hypothesis is a form of mass psychogenic illness, which is basically just the scientific term for mass hysteria. Some said tainted food sources could have caused something, but yeah, other than what we know about it, I don't think so.
Did they try putting any unusually scented oils on anyone's vulvas?
I can't speak to that, but you know more about that than I do.
Okay. The tainted food supply thing, that's something that Billy brought up last week, right? When you were being a good journalist?
Yeah. Well, but Za's story was thought to be an example of mass hysteria because it was the belief all these children were so rattled that they had seen something, and this idea of group think and actually, if we want to look back, so I did some really deep looking into this in the animal kingdom to kind of see if
further than Wikipedia.
Yeah. So to see if this is a thing, there's got to be some basis for it in evolution. But let's take for example, when you see someone throwing up, it makes you want to throw up. And even though you may have not even eaten the same thing as that person, you still want to throw up. It's because hypothetically, if you're in a tribe, if you're in a group of family members, or if you're all eating the same thing, if you don't throw up the poison, and if someone else is throwing up, you're more likely to survive starvation from not eating what's in your stomach than if it's poisonous.
Okay.
So this was a survival technique. So copying behaviors. So for example, if you hear, if you're a baboon and you see another baboon's yelling snake, snake, and running away, you're gonna run with him. It's that YouTube prank where you see someone run around the corner and they do it to suspecting individuals, and people are like, what is he running from? You don't know, so you just start running the other way with him.
Yeah.
So there is evolutionary, because we are social animals, and that's probably one of the reasons why we're at the top of the food chain and are dealing with space and stuff. We're so technologically advanced because we had this group think, this copying others, monkey see, monkey do.
What about yawns? Does that explain when I see somebody yawn, I want to yawn? I
guess that means we should stop for the night. I don't know. I don't know what yawns mean.
We're on the road.
Smart Billy is tapped out.
Yeah,
because yawning, I've always been perplexed with. I've never been enough interested to look it up, but it is the most pointless action that we do as human beings. You just open your mouth for an extended period of time.
I was told because you were lacking oxygen in the brain.
Yeah, I heard it's like an air thing.
Yeah, you're trying to take in more air for your brain.
So why is it contagious?
Yeah,
then?
Mad Dog, look that up.
As for yawn contagion, Giordano said it may be related to a phenomenon called social mirroring, where organisms imitate the actions of others.
Yeah, but we're trying to figure out why that might be. Maybe it's
telling you what PBS
it might just be demonstrating empathy. So when you see somebody do it's no different from and again, I'm going to go back to all the different criminal psychology and interrogation videos that I've been hammering on YouTube. I've basically been butt funneling that entire series, and it's I can't get enough of it. But you match somebody's body language if you have good rapport with them, no matter what. So they'll put a detective in a room with somebody who's suspected of committing a crime, and then they see which of his body languages that the suspected person is mirroring, because they'll typically mirror at least one, usually two or more of them. And if they're not, it means that they're consciously thinking to themselves about how to be carrying their bodies, and it means that they're more likely to be guilty because they're thinking about how to appear not guilty. Does that make
Giving
sense?
a lot of ammo to Big T right now when he gets interrogated.
Yeah, I am. Big time. You need to watch those videos, Big T. The bottom line is just don't talk to police officers if you're in an interrogation system.
Ever say anything without a lawyer.
Yeah.
So we yawn. Okay, so doctors aren't fully sure. So we yawn to regulate our brain temperature, to wake our bodies up, to bring more oxygen into our bloodstream, and to keep your lung tissue lubricated. But then experts are not positive on why yawns are contagious, and they say what they think is because what Billy said, it's like the social mirroring, but it's only contagious in certain higher order animals. So like us, monkeys, but they believe that it's a sign of some internal state of mind communication.
I used to always try to get Leroy to yawn by yawning in front of him, and then I would always feel like I did that. He could make me yawn, but I don't think I ever made him yawn.
Who's Leroy?
Leroy was my dog. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
That probably makes you happy.
Very good boy.
It's not that I'm not happy. It's just I don't care.
That's almost worse.
No, I get it. I actually get it, Arian. Like, you're ideologically consistent, which I respect.
Also,
Yes.
psychopaths don't get the contagious yawn. If you yawn at someone and they don't yawn back, it means they're a psychopath.
No,
according to
that's
Look at me, Big T.
It's-
Look at me.
I've actually been watching this whole time to see if somebody yawned because I wanted to see who has the weakest brain of anyone here. Just like talking about yawning.
Wait,
making
you
yawn.
think that's
You see how
weak
he
brain?
thinks, though? You see how he thinks? It's a weak brain. We're social
It is. If
animals
you-
that,
like, if
that-
you're talking
that
about
rely
yawn-
on each other, and you
Yeah.
think it's a weak brain.
I do.
Damn, Big T.
I do.
We should try to get our listeners right now into mass hysteria. You think we could do that?
Yeah.
I bet. How many people do you think started yawning when we talked about
Well,
yawning?
let's-
I bet it was a bunch.
I'm gonna yawn-
started.
I'm
I
gonna
did
yawn.
when we started talking about it. I saw Billy did too.
All right, let us know if you yawned.
No, I want to.
Let us know if you yawned back to that. Also,
Just let it go.
you can actually like give people rashes if they just think about rashes. Actually, you know what we should do? Just think about lice. Just everyone close
scabies.
Everyone close your eyes and think about lice out there. If you're listening to the sound of my voice, they're crawling right across your scalp at the very root of your hair. So you can kind of feel it tickling right at the base of that hair where it runs across your scalp, right at the crown of your head too. Maybe you might have a cowlick back there. Maybe you've got some gel in there, but there you can almost hear them crawling across. So now everybody's got itchy heads. So I think that counts as mass hysteria, right?
Actually, we kind of did this already. Remember when he talked about scabies on that one episode? And then a bunch of people kept DMing me and were like, yo, my ankles are itchy and my wrists are itchy and there's like red dots next to each other. Like, is that scabies? Like how do you know if you have scabies?
We used to call that the heebie-jeebies. I don't know if
Yeah.
y'all did, but like when you start talking about bugs and little bugs, you start to get all itchy and shit.
My friend just got scabies last weekend.
Yeah, dude, scabies awareness. Like, it's you can catch them like digging in a ditch when you're working excavation, or like they're worse than bed bugs.
Yeah.
It's so specific.
We got to come
Yeah.
up. What's the color ribbon that we're using for scabies awareness?
I don't know.
Polka dot?
Like peach, like a weird skin color.
Yeah.
Like magenta.
A magenta ribbon for
Dude,
scabies awareness?
Scabies they're hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I'd also just like to toss in awareness for the shingles vaccine. Get the shingles vaccine, people. I had shingles. You don't want it.
What's the sign of shingles?
Shingles, have you ever had chickenpox, Billy?
Yeah.
So you have shingles. It's in your body right now. It's chickenpox. And so if you've had chickenpox, it just lays dormant in your blood. And then if you have like a stressful event pop up in your life, then you start to get little dots on your side, maybe on your back along your spine, maybe one or two on your face.
Like
and
this?
it hurts like shit. Yeah, no, that's just a zit. Billy's just he's got a pimple. Yeah, a pimple. Could be a boil. Could be
Like-
ringworm.
True.
But no, that's not shingles. You'll know shingles if you have shingles. It's like
Yeah.
the most painful thing I've ever had in my life.
You had an outbreak.
Yeah, so when I was like 27 years old, 26 years old, and it turns out that my dad had an outbreak when he was 26, and my mom had one when she was like 30. So I guess it's like partially hereditary too, maybe. But if you've had chickenpox, you have the shingles virus in your body. It just waits for a time to come out. But if you get the shingles vaccine, even if you've already had chickenpox and it's in your body, the shingles vaccine usually prevents you from getting shingles.
I'm gonna grab that because I definitely had chickenpox when I was a kid.
Dude, it was the worst 2 weeks of my life, no doubt about it. I would go back in time and trade almost anything to just get Bill Gates personally give me that fucking vaccine.
No question. There's just no reprieve from chickenpox. Like, it's like the worst shit in the world. Like, you can't lay. You just everything. Moving hurts. Not moving hurts.
Yeah.
Everything hurts.
You know how I figured out that I had shingles was I was like, why does my shirt hurt so much when it touches my skin? And then I looked and there was like, it started to turn red. So I took my shirt off and I laid down on the couch. I was like, why does this couch cushion hurt so much when it's touching my skin? I thought like all my clothes had some sort of, I don't know, they felt sharp to me. And yeah, it was just bad 2 weeks. Anyways, that's our shingles and scabies awareness breakout session. Magenta ribbons, magenta up. July is scabies awareness month.
So a couple of, we were talking about modern, like, there's actually a lot of modern mass hysteria, and one that I'll point to that I think will, there was a psychosomatic disease on a United Emirates Flight 203 in September of 2018, where 106 of 521 passengers on a 14-hour flight reported symptoms of a sickness. But you might also remember the 2016 clown sightings.
Yeah, I do.
Like, so people say that it may have been a ad for a new It movie, but turns out there was no actual viral marketing for the clowns. And there's been saying that, this was all dismissed as a case of mass hysteria. Like, I remember it was like, what year was it? 2016? Yeah, like 17. Like, people were posting pictures of clown videos, but those were all. It was just people
making shit up to get retweets. It wasn't mass hysteria.
Right, that is mass hysteria.
I think the first couple were like legit, they're clowns out. Maybe they're advertisements for it, maybe they're not. And then after people started saying, oh shit, this clown content is going super viral, then they started to get in on the game and make their own. But I think
UFOs.
Yeah, once you hear other people talking about them, and once you see it prevalent in the news, then people are more likely to make up their own. But yeah, I do remember the clowns back in 2016.
Yeah.
That was a wild time. I just assumed that it was all viral marketing for it.
Yeah, the great clown panic of 2016 has been perpetuated by pretty much everyone except actual clowns.
Yeah, that sucks for real clowns.
Yeah. Shout out clowns.
I don't get the hate for clowns though. Like, they're just not. I mean, you scared of what you scared of, right? Like, I have this massive fear of snakes. Like, I do not fuck with snakes. Like, that's the worst shit in the world. But like, clowns are chill. I don't understand why people are so afraid of clowns. I don't get it.
Yeah, the clown panic stuff. That seems to me like you've heard a couple people say it on TV. Like, oh, clowns creep me out. I've never been personally creeped out by a clown.
I have.
I don't understand. Why are they creepy?
I fucking hate clowns. I hate people dressed up in costumes. Like,
yeah,
like
me too.
My biggest fear. No, where you can't see their real face. Like,
yeah, you can't see their eyes. Yeah. It's fucking bizarre.
My biggest fear is people who dress up like in mascots, like for sports teams. I can't do it. So like, I never went to Disney World as a kid because I couldn't do the costumes.
I went to Disney World with my family when I was a senior in college. And I hate characters at Disney World. I'm not like scared of them. I just don't like them.
I'm scared of them.
And we went to a dinner that they didn't tell me was one of those dinners where the characters come around and like talk to you. And well, not talk to you, but like make faces at the kids. And Donald Duck just came up and like, he just slapped his hand on my shoulder and it was just Donald Duck right here. And I was not happy about it.
I would pay good money to witness Big T at the character dinner.
I have a picture of that somewhere. Let me see if I can.
Yeah, please bring that up.
Actually, there's this supermarket in the New York area called Stu Leonard's, and they have like farm fresh milk, and it's like, they sometimes have animals. Anyway, there's the Stu the cow, and they have this guy in a cow costume running around the store, and there's several people that I know who are terrified. And you know how supermarkets have those mazes?
Mm-hmm.
So like Stu the cow would come around a corner and just be startling as this big cow, and like little kids would freak out. Everyone would just start crying. It was actually like a scene in the store, and it happened the other day when I was there, like as an adult. And it's like, why the hell? Like, why are they? Who enjoys this? Because it just makes babies cry.
Yeah, I'm just curious, Billy. When you say like mazes in grocery stores, are you talking about aisles?
No. You know how some grocery stores you have to walk through the whole store, like to get, because they make you basically walk through the whole store to buy more stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to like for the same reason they put milk and eggs at the back of the grocery store.
Yeah.
So
The layouts of grocery stores are fascinating to me. How
Yeah.
they have that shit down to a science.
yeah,
Because you can't just run into a store and buy milk.
yeah.
You have to go. They have like they call it real estate, right? Like the
Mm-hmm.
real estate on shelves is very specifically planned out at most grocery stores
like
to make
the-
sure you spend the most money.
The delis in the back, and then like of course all the last minute things you might need are just right at the counter.
Yep.
Gum. They are brilliant for putting gum
Yeah.
at the cash register because I am a sucker every time I'm gonna get some gum.
All right, Big T just sent out the picture of him
That's so
with
funny.
Daffy Duck. Is this like a Scottish Daffy Duck?
It was it like their Christmas outfits or something? I don't know what it was.
Well,
It was at Christmas.
It looks like he's wearing a Scottish golfer's hat, and then
Yeah.
almost like he's wearing a kente cloth.
Yeah, I
around
don't
his
know
neck.
what it
It's
was,
a
but
little something for everybody. Maybe a little Kwanzaa vest. And then Big T looks exactly the same as he does right now.
well, it was only 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago.
Oh yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, you do not look excited to be meeting the duck.
Yeah, I was not at all.
So back to the clowns real quick. I think it also might be a situation where if you look for clowns, if you have clowns on the mind, then you're going to see clowns everywhere. Just like, so for example, I'm driving a Jeep while I'm at the beach. That's my summer driver that I've got down there. And ever since I have that Jeep, I'm seeing other Jeeps everywhere. And I'm like, there's no chance that there were
Yes.
this many Jeeps on the road before I got mine. And I was pumped to do my very first Jeep wave.
Yeah.
I did the Jeep wave on the morning that I got the car, and then driving around town for the rest of that day, I was like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to be waving. First of all, I feel like a fraud because I'm not really a Jeep guy. I just happen to have one for the month. Second of all, like, do I have to actually be doing this every 45 seconds? Is it rude of me to not wave at another Jeep on the road? But
Definitely rude.
yeah, probably rude. But I think it's kind of like the same thing. It's is it the recency bias? Is that the effect that I'm looking
Yeah.
for?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like when you think of something and then like you start seeing it all over the place.
Yeah.
Like there was this trend on TikTok recently where people were just like being like, has anyone felt like a sore throat and like but already been vaccinated or already had COVID, and everyone was like, yeah, you're just having a cold. Like
yeah, TikTok was trying to make up
Yeah.
their own new illness
Yeah.
that like only they had.
Was that
Yeah.
the spoon sticking to you?
No, it was not like anti-vax or anything. It was just
No.
like kids being like, yo, I'm like sick.
And
And,
you're
like,
like, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a real thing. I had one more question for you though, Billy, about the social aspect of
Yeah.
just like, what do you guys think? You think it's kind of the same thing where you see somebody throwing up, you throw up when you see people have sex, that makes you want to have sex?
You think sex is a mass hysteria?
Yeah, sex is mass hysteria too,
Huh. Well,
with
No,
benefits.
I wouldn't categorize it as that, for the simple fact of it's evolutionarily necessary for us to survive, and so for that reason, it's instinct. It's like
but
But is
it-
porn mass hysteria?
No,
Because it makes you want to have sex.
It could be.
well, like think about this, like
I think
If
we're
you
stretching the definition.
if
Yeah,
you-
probably.
yeah.
We're just talking about porn now.
if you never,
Some
Any
porn makes
way
me
to
never
put it
want to
in.
have sex again.
but if you've never heard of like sex, like, would you know what to do? No,
I think it's natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it's instinctual.
I don't.
Yeah.
Like, think about it.
Billy? Did you
Definitely.
have to learn how to have sex? Were you in sex ed when you were 16? You're like,
Well,
oh, shit.
before you know like what
that's what it's for.
But
okay.
like think about it, like before you know like penis goes in vagina, like do you really know how to have sex? And like, what if no one told you that?
I think
is it-
I
it's
probably
learned?
could have
Figure it
figured it
that's
out.
fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But would you?
Yeah, I think
yeah,
so.
I think you would.
Yeah.
I think about it like
they
this.
figured it out for many thousands of years.
All animals figured out. There's no animal porn that they watch anyway. That's for us, and we're weird. But like, so all animals figure it out eventually. Like, it's literally written in your DNA.
But
how to
like, if you didn't know, like, when would you figure it out? I mean, look, like, yes, it happens, but like, if you isolated a man for his whole life,
So you wake up. This is how this happens, bro. This is how it happens. So you wake up, right, in the
Right.
morning. I don't know if this still happens to you, but it happens to me. When you wake up, you have an erection, right?
yes,
Like that, you're horny, right? That's
Right.
natural. You want to ejaculate. Women have the same kind of deal going on where they get horny, right? And so if you get two people who are horny, you're gonna figure it out no matter what the circumstances are. And if you both, unbeknownst to you, have never seen another opposite gender person or opposite sex person, then you're gonna figure out to put 1 and 2 together.
true.
I think people can figure it out. I think life finds a way when it comes to sex.
Yeah, I can see it from there.
But Billy, back to what you were saying a second ago.
I can see it from there.
About how like there's people on TikTok just saying like, hey, does anybody else have a sore throat? It's the TikTok disease. If you use TikTok or whatever, like you might have this, and just convincing people that they've got those diseases. That's a real thing that's happened in a couple different mass hysteria events. There was one in, I think it was Leroy, New York. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's spelled L-E, then capital R-O-Y, New York. There was a social media star that posted that she was experiencing Tourette's syndrome, or a syndrome, or like different manifestations that could be construed as Tourette's. And then within the next couple days, there were like hundreds of girls in this town that started reporting facial tics and things of that nature. But it was just because they saw somebody. And everybody has, like, we all have muscle spasms over the course of a day, whether it be on your face or like your hand or your leg or whatever it is. But since they had just seen a very popular person talk about Tourette's and what they were feeling, they thought that every single tic that they had was Tourette's-like. So it was a case of them either giving in to like some things that weren't even muscle spasms and like kind of exaggerating them, or reporting every single little one that they were getting. There was also another one that was in, I want to say, hang on, let me pull this up real quick. This was in 1999 in Belgium. They had to close down a Coca-Cola plant because there was a panic about people that were claiming to be poisoned by drinking Coke. And so Belgium and France, they banned all Coke products briefly. There were hundreds of hospitalizations. There were no contaminations ever discovered. And then, those are probably the two most similar things that I saw to like whatever's going on TikTok right now, where it's just like things get in the news via whatever type of media you consume, and then you think that you always have. You start looking at yourself and be like, oh, I'm feeling that same shit too.
So
Like a name for those people. It's like a hypochondriac, right?
Yeah.
Hypochondriacs do that.
Yep.
But you know, this like Emirates Flight 203, two of the passengers actually did test positive for rhinovirus, which is just the common cold. And I feel like in those tight quarters, if people are showing like symptoms, like it could spread if like enough people are showing those symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
From my understanding, though, planes are pretty well ventilated, and it's hard for things to travel around unfiltered. I could be wrong on that, but that's what I remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah.
There was I think a Portuguese television show called Sugared Strawberries, or Strawberries with Sugar, and in that show it was kind of like a Degrassi type show. Everybody at the school, there was like a big virus that went around, almost like a pandemic. And then amongst people that were watching that, you started to see like huge spikes in kids staying home from school because they thought that they also had this disease. They even called it like the strawberries with sugar disease, which was all mental. But yeah, if you see things in the media, I don't know about the thing on the plane, but if you see other people coughing, you definitely think to yourself, oh shit, I might have to cough too.
So it's a good segue to if you guys want to continue on the ones we did.
Let's do it.
I researched the Fatima, what was it called? The Miracle of the Sun in Fatima, Portugal. And this one was hilarious to me because it has to do with like Catholicism, right? It's like really big in the Catholic faith. And so a little background from it. So in the spring of 1917, 3 shepherd children claimed that they saw the Virgin Mary appear, and she told the 3 little girls that to come back at a certain date, and it was going to be October 13th or 17th, 13th or 17th, one of those. That she was going to come back and reveal like the miracle of all miracles and make non-believers believers, and to come back every month until then. And so they did, and so they went back and told all the townspeople, and it just started getting more steam. They thought it was like a political stunt from non-believers to try to like disprove the faith, right? So like they all got interrogated by religious folks, secular folks, like all that. So there's this big hype built around it. And so the day of, it was like 40,000 people out there. They all showed up to this little town at this place, and the Virgin Mary allegedly appeared. And so the funnier part to me is that the Virgin Mary appeared and told everybody to look at the sun. And so everybody's staring at the sun, and you have conflicting reports subsequently, right? It had been looked at, but you have conflicting reports. Like some people said that the sun was like dancing and it was zigzagging in the sky. Various different lights and colors was in the sky around the sun. And she told the children that what did she say? She said that a chapel should be built here about me, and the war would end soon and the soldiers will return. It's just hilarious to me that a celestial being comes down and says stare at the sun, knowing what the fuck that could do to your eyes. But yeah, so like I said, subsequently they studied people's accounts, and there were many conflicting. Some people saw the sun dancing, some people didn't see the sun dancing, some people saw a zigzag, some people didn't. But yeah, so that was basically, it's called the miracle of the sun. So they ended up building a chapel there. And so like if you ask like a Catholic in that area, and either now or for somebody who follows the faith, they're like, it hasn't been debunked, there's no way, science can't explain it. Like all of those same
I think science can't explain maybe why you'd see a bunch of weird lights, or you'd have trouble like looking at the sky and maybe seeing something that was holding still in the air if you had been staring at the sun for a day. Like to me, that seems like pretty consistent. Yeah. Yeah.
Not only that, they claimed that the sun got closer, and that because it was raining that day, it was pouring down rain that day, and the sun had got closer, and it dried up all their clothes, and it dried up the ground that was the wetlands there. And so, but again, they had some people said that their clothes in the ground dried, and some people that said that it didn't. So I'm filing this under the big cat file in my cabinet. That I think it's the same old religious tale that people tell. Is like, I believe it happened, so it happened, and all the evidence that suits my narrative, that's what I'm going to believe, and everything else that discounts it, that's the devil.
Portugal might be the capital of Europe when it comes to this sort of thing, because we've got the strawberries with sugar thing, we've got this one, and then didn't Portugal try to claim Christopher Columbus too?
Oh yeah, at one point.
Fucking liars. Yeah, they are the capital of the world.
The capital.
Ronaldo flops a lot.
He does flop a lot. They're frauds in World Cups. And what?
He's a penalty merchant.
He is a penalty merchant. Yeah, and they speak Brazilian, not Portuguese.
Is that true?
Yeah. They've just convinced us to believe that.
No, I
you didn't know that?
It's been a long day, dude.
Wait, you don't.
I didn't listen to what he was saying.
Yeah.
Do you not believe me?
I get it now.
Okay.
Just move on.
All right. It's been a long day for Big T. What have you been doing today, Big T?
No, a lot of shit.
Yeah? Like what?
Name one shit you've done.
I blogged, then I had to do the Barstool Athletes thing, then did research for this show, and now coming in here and doing this.
Sorry, Big T. That sounds like it was exhausting.
Okay, I resent that. Also, that's just, people just say it's been a long day when that's just a term. It's been a long day.
You have the best job in the world.
You look abnormally perturbed today, though. You look.
Is everything all right?
Everything's great.
Get better.
This could be a refuge for you, man. I'm here, bro. You know what I mean?
I appreciate the hell out of that.
We're a safe
Yeah, no
space
doubt.
for you, Big T. I know that
Thank you.
snowflakes like yourself, you
Thank
need
you.
a
Yeah,
safe environment
for
where you
sure.
can talk about whatever you want.
For sure.
And
That's
nothing's gonna hurt you.
definitely.
Cause I tell you right now,
appreciate
I'm
it.
not a big Joe Biden fan either, Big T. So you can lay it on me, bro.
Was it the war in Afghanistan finally ending?
Goodness. Oh my goodness.
You know what? I say that we give Big T our first Big T participation trophy for his participation in today. He
this
dealt
is
with so much
outrageous.
shit today. Big T, you
This is
participated.
remarkably dumb.
You get a, there you go. You're a winner.
Let's send him a magenta ribbon for Scabies Awareness Week.
Thank you.
Just for showing up, you get a trophy, Big T.
Yeah,
Everyone
that's-
gets
that's
one.
the way
Actually,
America
everyone
works now.
Everyone gets one.
You know what?
Yeah. That's why this country's being run into the ground.
Uh,
Participation trophies.
did I ever tell you about Mark Schlereth? How he was my little league baseball and football coach
Was he seriously?
and basketball. Yeah, way back in the day. And so because he was on the Washington R Words at the time, and his son
Time out. He was your football, baseball, and basketball coach.
was mostly baseball and basketball.
You had to know his son or something. 'Cause
Yeah.
there's no way he was just following you around. Okay, but
Yeah. No,
that's weird.
He
as
didn't
fuck.
just show up and randomly decide to coach these teams. Although, as we've said on the show before, we could see Big T absolutely doing something like that later on in life. But Mark Schlereth was actually an assistant coach because he had responsibilities for the football teams he was on, where he couldn't always be there all the time for every game, but he was there probably 2 practices a week, usually for the games, and we were a pretty decent team. We came in second place in our little league, and I had him. We had Mark on the radio show. This was like 2 years ago when the Super Bowl was down in Atlanta, and he didn't remember me because I look completely different now than I did back then. And I brought out the picture, the team picture. I was like, "Hey, that's me right there, like second row next to you." And he was like, "Holy shit!" He was amazed by it. And Mark is the last guy you will ever hear giving somebody a round of applause for participating. He's like the head of the war on participation trophies. He hates it. He thinks, just like you said, this is when America went to hell in a handbasket. And I was like, Mark, do you remember we came in second place that year? And he was like, yeah, it was a really good team, though. And I was like, well, my friend Pat was on the team that won that little league on the Yankees, and he got a pretty good trophy. Do you remember that you went out and you bought everybody on the Marlins a trophy for second place that was 3 times the size as the first place trophy? And he was like, you know what? Things are different when it's your own kid sometimes.
Also, that is a participation trophy, but I mean, coming in second is different than like the kids who went 0-10 getting trophies.
You're the first loser, Big T. It's still trash.
No, it is. If you're not first, you're last. But
And the trophy was it was ginormous.
But that's also a big dick move, though, to be like, first place trophy is we're gonna make it 3 times bigger.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because like I still like Mark. I thought he was a great coach then. He's a nice guy now. It was just funny to see, like, sometimes you kind of lose track of these overall culture war things when you're thinking about how you're dealing with your own kids. It's a little bit different.
Facts.
It's a little bit different when it's an interpersonal relationship or like a familial relationship. Is that even a word? Familial?
Yes, it was. It's nice use.
All right. Anything else about the sun craze?
No, just like what I said, subsequently it was studied. A lot of accounts didn't match up. And we have yet to see a celestial event where the sun zigzags. So that would have been a one-timer and physically impossible to the known laws of physics. So I'm calling cap.
Calling cap. All right. Wait, how many people were affected by that?
There was like 30 or 40,000 people. I would say there was a dude that went and studied it for like 6-7 years. Obviously, I didn't read his whole report because halfway through researching this, I was like, this is stupid. But just in the brief reading, I think maybe he interviewed around 1,000, 2,000 people, something like that.
That's still remarkable, though, that you have 30,000 people saying that this thing happened.
And it was all from 3 little girls coming back and saying, "Yo, I seen Virgin Mary on a hill, fam. Like, she said she coming back. Y'all gotta show up." And they all showed up. Like, what? It was like the first club promoters of all time. It's like one of the.
At some point, too, there are people that grew up in that town, and you just have to go along with the lie because that's your town's identity right now. It's like, yeah, we're the people who were blessed enough to see the sun dancing. The sun was like running a dig route through the sky, and we all were the only ones on the planet that were lucky enough to see it. And so you just got to go along with that lie. It's your entire town's identity, right?
So I forgot this little tidbit too. So one of the people, it's like you remember like the police when they investigate themselves, like they find no wrongdoing. So there was a priest that investigated it and found that the Pope saw the sun zigzagging from where he was. So
Okay.
Well, I'm actually
story confirmed.
I'm thinking about it. If you're just looking up in the sky and staring at the sun, you know when people are just looking up, they start to sway a little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're staring directly at the sun and they start to sway a little, it's gonna start zigzagging.
They all got vertigo, it sounds like,
Yeah.
at the same time. Yeah.
like shout out Coley.
Shout out Coley. He should be on this podcast to talk about vertigo. It was funny, Arian, a couple years ago, we had McShay come to town, Todd McShay from Scouts Inc., and he put us through like a little NFL-type combine, and we were all just like woefully unathletic. You can imagine just how bad our performances were. But then probably the funniest part of it was Coley stepped up to do the vertical leap, and he was like, I can't look up into the sky to hit the plastic bars because I have vertigo, so I'm physically incapable of looking up in the air. And so he just tried to jump and hit the things without looking at them and completely whiffed trying to hit the vertical jump things. And McShay was like, I have to say, this is a first for me, administering any sort of combine, to have somebody who's got too bad vertigo to actually complete the vertical leap challenge. But yeah, Coley.
There's no video of this.
There is video, yeah. Yeah, we got some video of it. We'll send it to you. But
Yeah, send it in the chat. That's hilarious.
Coley's busy fucking right now, so he's not able to weigh in on vertigo.
No, he's definitely done by now.
Yeah, definitely. Yep, good
There's no
point.
way.
He might be going back for round 3 at this point. We've been
I
going.
would be impressed. I've been on weekend getaways. You get tired of that shit, man. It's like, what else can we do here?
There are only so many holes, right?
Flip your uterus upside down. Let's try something different.
Yeah, let me get some of the back cervix real quick. So Billy,
Dude.
I know you worked really hard on your presentation today.
I
the
did.
class.
We're talking about the Salem witch trials and a little bit of witch trials.
Can I just give you some flowers right quick, Billy?
Yes, sir.
Every topic, Billy comes with this Google document, just amazingly put together, and I hats off to you.
Thank
fans.
you.
I just
Great,
want to
yeah.
give you flowers
Appreciate
real
it.
quick. Yeah.
Well, basically, so there's been a lot of suspicions of women in history for hysterical reasons. So basically, one of them is the Salem witch trials. So witch trials were a common practice in Europe, as well as vampire trials and werewolf trials. They used to think that there's actually some great stories. Basically, if you dug up a body about, like, they used to bury a lot of people alive by accident back when, you know, people would just be in comas or knocked out and people would think they were dead. That's why we have like wakes or, you know, where they display the body for a long time to make sure that the people are dead, because sometimes they dig up coffins and there would be scratch marks on the inside, or and then sometimes their teeth, because of decomposition, would appear like fangs and longer. So this actually was a reason that caused people to think vampires were real. And when you lack science, you start to create things. For example, you know, wolves attacking livestock or attacking people, and then they don't think it's a wolf. They think it's or a werewolf.
Wait, Billy, go back real quick. You're saying that we use the term wake because it was originally put in place because the person might wake up?
Yeah.
And so you want to give like a brief period between when they're dead and when they're buried?
Yeah, so that they don't get buried alive.
That's crazy. I did not know that.
Yeah, I actually may be totally wrong on that. But
All right.
but they do. That was the point. They used to party.
That's completely wrong. The word wake in relation to death originally meant a watch, vigil, or guard. It was used to refer to a prayer vigil, usually held late at night or overnight, where mourners would keep watch over their dead until they were buried. Yeah, you just totally made that up.
Well, no, they're keeping watch to make sure the dead don't wake up.
No, used to refer to a prayer vigil where mourners would. Yeah, no,
I
you're
didn't
wrong.
actually know. Like when I said wake, it was meant like they display the body, like an Irish wake. You're like
Right.
casket's open.
I know that, but I was just the way that you put it.
Well,
made
you made that assertion. I wasn't saying that. I just was like,
maybe I'm the only one that made that leap when you said wake, and then I thought that it means that
yeah,
they
but
could
like I was
wake
like,
up.
yeah, maybe. So, but that the displaying of the body, and they have sometimes there was like another ritual where they had the body on a table and they'd be partying around the body, and hopefully it would wake them up.
Finnegan's Wake. You're describing the plot of the song Finnegan's Wake, where they spill rum on the corpse and then or whiskey, and he likes drinking so much that he wakes up from the dead.
Exactly.
It might also be the book Finnegan's Wake. I don't know. I haven't gotten around to reading that. Just listen to the Dropkick Murphy song.
So with all like this medieval Europe with werewolves and vampires, there might be witches too. So witches were thought to bring a lot of the harms among if there was something bad happened in the village, like crops didn't work out right, someone's got erectile dysfunction, it's the witch's fault. So let's round them up and time to a stake and burn them. This was a common practice. It was actually terrible. Sorry.
You apologizing
I'm
for the Salem witch trials?
For the Salem witch trials, no. But anyway, this
Actually terrible. Sorry.
but so you're saying like it could be explained by guys not being able to get a boner, and they're
Yeah.
like, she's a witch, that's why I can't get an erection.
Yeah. Anyway, so this got to North America in the early 1600s and caused by a lot of the refugees from the French Indian War, which was really a war between the British and the French. There was refugees that moved into what is now Danvers, Massachusetts, which is where the village of Salem was. And basically, you just had a bunch of people with very low resources and a large population and a very strict puritanical population that was very, very religious. Now, as we pointed to earlier, intense oppression and sort of societal constructs seems to be a common thread in these mass hysterias. So three girls basically started having what could be seen today as basically the symptoms of an acid trip gone wrong, where they started freaking out, convulsions. They were found talking in tongues, going crazy, and basically they put three teenage girls named Elizabeth Hubbard, Dorothy Good, and a third who was actually
Was it Sarah something?
I think it was.
Why you looking at that? You know what's funny about all these stories? Big T, didn't your story had to do with three people? There was like three people.
Yeah, start out.
Three's crowd.
Three something. Like my story had three girls that saw Virgin Mary. There's three girls that the three wise men. Like, what is with these fucking magical numbers that always have these weird ass stories attached to them?
Three. We should do an episode on numerology. Numerology is interesting shit too.
Good call.
It's like
Good
7 appears all the time, especially in the Bible. 7's one of the numbers that it's almost like a recurring theme.
And also one Caribbean-born house slave was also accused of witchcraft. Anyway, long story short, everyone freaked out, started accusing of everyone of witchcraft. Unfortunately, the first person accused was the African-American slave because they thought it had to do with voodoo. There was a little bit of that tied in. And basically everyone just started going nuts and accusing each other of being witches. When it was all said and done, there were tons of people killed, 10 to be exact, with a very low population, but tons of people are accused. And actually, funnily enough, Increase Mather, the then president of Harvard, denounced the use of spectral evidence to actually justify our current law system. It were better to have 10 suspected witches should escape than one innocent person be condemned because of how many people had been tried and had been executed. And it was the first time in American history that we decided not to include dreams and visions as testimony. So when your significant other is mad at you for cheating in a dream,
Yeah.
that is not allowed in the court of law because of the Salem witch trials. So
That's happened to you too?
no.
That's definitely happened to me. And I'll be like, I have no. Why am I supposed to apologize?
Exactly.
Dream me supposed to apologize?
But
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a real feeling though. You can't. You know what it does? It plants the seed. I've had a significant other that cheated on me in my dream before, and I woke up like, you motherfucker! I cannot believe it. It's a real feeling, and you can never shake it, and it just stays there. It's really weird, very irrational, but it's very weird.
so this was.
But I mean, she ended up cheating on me later on, so.
So hey, this was the basis
Spidey sense.
of a lot of the accusations of the Salem witch trials. So interestingly enough, they did find the fungus ergot would be very typical to live on rye and wheat, especially in the sort of humid, swampy meadows of near Salem Village. And this happened in the fall, and that was a staple during the spring and summer months. So basically, there is the idea that these girls could have consumed ergot, which can have, a psychological effect that's akin to LSD that might have caused this whole thing. Or it could have been, some of the laughing fits, convulsions type things occurring, and then having residual paranoia, and then more of a clowns are coming after us type reaction.
So, okay, I'm reading that 200 people were accused. More than 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty.
Right.
Is there any chance that the whole town was tripping on LSD at the time, and not just the people that were being accused, like even the people that were making the accusations or the people that were trying them?
100%. I mean, you could say, once everyone's in groupthink, in the psychology of groupthink, which, is heavily tied to this, it's like a psychological drive for consensus at any cost that suppresses dissent and appraisals of alternatives in cohesive decision-making groups. So groupthink, is the driver of a lot of all this stuff.
So it says that there was a man named Gilles Corey who was pressed to death. What is that?
Yeah, I think they put him between two boulders.
Fuck, that's the least creative way to kill somebody I can think of.
Yeah, and they
couldn't find a rope. They were just like, there's a big rock over there.
I wanted to make this more about the mass hysteria. Maybe we could do a whole, episode on the Salem witch trials, but they also did stuff like throw them in the water, and if they swam, they were a witch. But if they didn't swim, that means that they weren't a witch, but they're still dead.
They're going to heaven, though.
Yeah.
They did them a favor if they drowned.
Yeah.
Just back to the crushing real
Yeah.
quick. In Asia, they would crush people with elephants.
That's so fucking metal.
Oh, dude, I heard this. You know what they used to do in Vietnam? And this may be a legend, but they used to grow. It was on Mythbusters. They used to tie someone up and have bamboo grow underneath them, and the bamboo would go through them because nothing
grows
can
so
stop.
fast,
Yeah, nothing can stop a bamboo bud growing and impale them to prisoners of war.
That's just, I don't know. If you got to pick a way to go, I feel like getting trampled by elephants might not be the worst. It's probably over pretty quickly, right? I'd rather be trampled by elephants than have just somebody puts a rock on me and then I die.
I think fire, man. I think fire is the worst way to go.
Fires, yeah. That'd be
Isn't
tough.
that supposed to it burns off your nerve endings relatively quickly though, and then you kind of don't feel it as much?
I don't know if that's true or not. It feels.
That may not be true. I don't want to Billy. That may not be true.
I think the best
A
way.
new verb.
Whoa,
Pull a Billy?
What do you mean pull what I was saying, I don't know where the weight came from, but it definitely, that's why they watch the body to make sure it's dead.
I think
Originally, they
Best
just that's a known fact.
best you can hope for if you're getting burned to death is that you inhale the smoke and it makes you pass out.
Yeah.
That's the best that you can hope for. Yeah, burning alive would be real tough. So a bunch of people were accused. Did the people who ever did the trials and do the executions, did they ever get in trouble for any of this bullshit?
Well, they recently apologized.
Okay, good.
So
So did you, Billy.
1992, yeah, because I mean, honestly,
Wait, they apologized in 1992?
yeah. In 1957, they absolved 6 people. Then in
Oh,
2000,
in 52,
Big of them.
yeah.
in 52
Big of them.
they found
Oh, God.
6 of them and said, okay, these 6 were definitely not witches. We're still investigating the rest of them, but we know for a fact that these 6 were good. Then in another 45 years, they summoned the courage to be like, hey, sorry for killing those 6 of them.
yeah. So, as of 2004, there was still talks about exonerating all of the victims, but some think that it happened in 19th century. Yeah.
I would like to see what the debate on that was.
I think this actually has to do with the law that Aaron Hernandez people talk
Here we
about.
go. Let's go.
No,
Billy.
like
Now
the
we're
law
cooking.
where
Game.
yeah, you know the
Game.
law where they're like you can't be convicted of a crime if you die during proceedings.
Yeah.
And technically he was still during proceedings.
Yeah, it's
I
because
think
he had
Yeah.
like an appeal left, even though he
Yeah.
had been convicted. He was still under appeal, so technically his shit got vacated.
So I
right?
think because the Salem witch trials never really reached a verdict, they all just died through their tests
Uh-huh.
that they were still on trial. So
Right.
Oh, the George Burroughs.
Well, then you can never be technically convicted of witchcraft because either you die one way or you die the other way.
Yeah.
Right?
Or you're yeah.
Or you're actually just a witch.
Huh. Damn.
All right. Dave, we could probably do an entire episode on Salem witch trials.
Yeah.
For sure.
Also, there's tons of stories from Europe of these like crazy like werewolf, like the origins of werewolves, vampires, and all that.
Yeah, so how does a witch fit into all that? Does a witch consider herself to be like a bride of the devil?
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the Wicca religion because they
Wiccans.
call themselves witches too,
Yeah.
right?
These are falsely accused. Like they would basically like this is actually messed up. They would look for the mark of the devil on some of these young women, and basically it could be a birthmark or some sort of
A third nipple?
mole. Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. You'd be yeah.
They would definitely think I was either a witch or a Labrador.
But they just have some dude be like checking over, like, so it was, colonial America was very, very weird.
What if one of these women had just been like, you know what, I'm a witch?
Well, that's what they ended up doing. One of the accused basically stated that they had been met by the devil and told to sign the book of the Antichrist, and basically a lot of them, these were a lot of false confessions.
Mm-hmm.
And that were just because they were being
You don't think she
tortured.
actually met the devil?
I don't know. She could have, but yeah.
I like to think of my witches like Hocus Pocus,
Mm.
one of the all-time great Halloween movies.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Just friendly. You want to do their spells. Don't want to really bother people too much.
Sabrina, the teenage witch, also a great witch.
My mom says she's a
Good one.
witch
Who?
all the time.
Oh, your mom says that she is a witch.
Yeah,
Do you believe her?
she used to tell me she had magical powers when I was little.
She gave birth to you.
Yeah.
I could see witch-like tendencies for sure.
I actually had I had a homeboy who had a girlfriend who told him, confessed to him that she was a witch, and that she had put a spell on him that I guess would allow him not to like cheat on him, or also it would like make him fall in love deeply and never with anybody else. That shit's fucking crazy. That I was like, you need to not be with her, my G. Like that's probably not a good look.
I don't know anything about this relationship, but I can assure you the sex was fantastic.
And you know what? He said it was.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No,
And-
I'm getting the vibe from her. That
She also tried to stab him later on.
Okay.
And that was a fun "I told you so" moment. But it was a wild circumstance.
it's like a
for
real
sure.
life praying mantis situation where
Yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of fun, and then she's gonna try to cut your head off right afterwards.
I'm not sure if it was following that, but
crystals, leaving crystals in the car.
Yeah. Your mom used to do that to you?
No, but that's what people have been doing recently. Dudes are
you've
like,
been doing what?
it's like a TikTok trend. They're like, I found crystals in my car, like, and like their girlfriends are leaving crystals in the car.
Like that's a prank?
No, like who knows?
It's just a TikTok trend.
It's a TikTok
Do
trend.
you
Got
think Danica Patrick did that with Aaron Rodgers?
Yes, for sure. She's got crystals everywhere.
Yeah.
For sure. So I'm reading up on the medical theories about the Salem witch trials. I think people do tend to agree with Billy that it could have been from rye bread. Have they tried to recreate the LSD in the rye bread?
I think many try to concoct psychedelics. I think they definitely could.
Mm-hmm. They also say it could have been an epidemic of bird-borne encephalitis, lethargia, and sleep paralysis. And some modern historians are less inclined to focus on biological, preferring to explore motivations like jealousy, spite, need for attention to explain the behavior. I mean, I think you could probably explain a lot of it just like if a dude back then in a Puritan society, if a dude is mad at his wife for whatever reason, he sees like accusing her as being a witch as his like get out of jail free card, no matter what. So a lot of times it's projection. So the dude could get caught cheating on her or doing any sort of other immoral thing, and then he could just be like, hey, if you tell anybody about this, I'm going to say that you're a witch. Or he could just accuse her of being a witch and no questions asked. It's like that problem's out of his hair. So I could see jealousy and spite playing a big factor here for sure.
And one of the main suspects to the villagers was Tituba, who was an enslaved South American Indian woman from the West Indies, and she was likely a target because of her ethnic differences.
It's just genius to be like, oh, I can't get a boner. It must be because you're a witch, because it's the dude not only like putting all of his faults onto her, but he's also saying like my penis is so smart and in tune with the universe that it can tell that you've made Congress with Satan, and my penis will not go anywhere close to that.
He's the original gaslighter.
Yeah, for sure. She was probably like, I think I am a witch. She probably had no idea, that poor girl. She was like, all that she'd been told about sex, she didn't have Billy or a 7th grade health teacher to teach her about it. It was like from her mom, and her mom was probably like, yes, honey, if he doesn't get an erection, that's because Beelzebub's living inside your vagina. And so that poor girl probably went to her death thinking that she was actually a witch. I would have loved to have taught her otherwise. Bonk. All right. That's good, Billy. Good job.
Yeah.
Except for the wake thing.
I didn't. There's science behind that. I'll write a blog.
Well, if it's
Yeah.
science.
Yeah, science.
Not
it up.
science. They literally they would accidentally bury people all the time.
Yeah, no, I believe that.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
So they literally would like party around the bodies to make sure that they didn't wake up.
And that's why it was called a wake, because they might wake up. They were trying to wake them up.
Right.
Yeah, were they trying to wake them up?
Billy, you just lied a second time about
I
the
didn't
exact
lie.
same thing.
I didn't lie. I just
walked right
they,
into
no.
it, walked
I'm
right
not.
into
I'm
it.
saying like to make sure that I'm not sure that it's called a wake for that reason.
Billy, it's okay to be like, you know what? I don't know.
But I know that they would lay the body out in order to make sure it's dead.
Billy,
Yes,
Billy,
that's true.
A lot of ego here. Just I don't
Dude,
know.
okay. All right.
No.
I'll let go.
All right. Good job,
You could be
Billy.
right, but probably not. But I don't know.
Good job, Billy. All right, I'm going to get into one real quick, and then I know Mad Dog has a fun one that she wants to touch on at the end. So the one that I want to discuss real quick, it's actually one that I had not heard about, despite the fact that I lived through it, in 2001. So in 2001, there was, starting in October, there were children in elementary and middle schools across the U.S., starting in Indiana. I believe it started first week of October in Indiana, October 4th. There were people in Indiana middle school that reported that they were dealing with rashes and they were having itchy skin. So the skin would break out in hives, and it would only be while these kids were in school. And when they get home, the symptoms would disappear. It started in Indiana. It spread across the country. The next one was in Northern Virginia. This was at Marsteller Middle School. I don't know where that is. Marsteller Middle School in Northern Virginia. And hazmat crews actually came in. They went through the building. This was right around the same time as anthrax was first being reported. So it was right after, it's about a month after the 9/11 attacks. And it was right as anthrax was being found in various like congressional office buildings and things like that. And then in January and February, the rashes turned up again. So over the course of winter holidays, the kids would go home, and there were no reports of any of these rashes or things like that. So back in January and February, it turned up in Pennsylvania. It turned up in Oregon. And it turned up, let's see, the superintendent of schools in Quakertown, Pennsylvania, reported that there were 238 cases in 9 different schools. And so they're trying to figure out what's going on in these schools. They had environmental testing. They had all sorts of crews come in and test things out. And let's see, in Oregon, it started on February 4th at Abraham Lincoln Elementary School in Medford. This was right on the Oregon-California border. And they noticed that there was a group of second grade girls, 8 to 10 from the same classroom, had flushed looks on their faces, necks, hives on their arms, and this kind of it spread from coast to coast, and there were so many different cases of it. No one ever really figured out what was going on, but the closest explanation was that it was environmental induced stress and anxiety from 9/11 and from always feeling like their country was under attack. If you remember, it sounds kind of like ridiculous to think that kids in Southern Oregon are getting rashes because they are afraid of 9/11 happening again, or because they watched 9/11 unfold on TV. But at that time, we were being told, like on the news, especially if you were a kid and you were watching the news at night with your parents, you were being told, like, whatever the tallest building was in your hometown, you were being told that was a target by terrorists, and that it could happen like any day, that they might blow your shit up. And so it would kind of make sense in retrospect why there were kids that were so stressed out about it. But that's the official explanation is 9/11 induced anxiety on kids that gave them a psychosomatic reaction to feelings associated with trauma that permeated the United States at the time.
That makes perfect sense. And we had one of those, right? So I grew up in a city called Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I didn't notice until 9/11 happened. Moms came and got us from school. And then later on, they were saying we was one of the main targets in the country. And I was like, bro, we in the middle of nowhere. What the fuck would they want over here? But apparently there's like nuclear shelters over there. Also, like there's like hidden, and this could be cap, but this is what we grew up thinking, that there was like hidden laboratories and stuff for nuclear testing sites in the mountains, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so actually one of the first nuclear bombs was, I think it was like in Los Alamos, actually. It was like in New Mexico. They tested it out there. So we thought we were definitely primed targets for terrorists.
It's like there's a lab out there for sure, and so like that's what I saw somebody on the news the other day talking about how somebody who was in Milwaukee was saying that they were told growing up that terrorists were also targeting Milwaukee because it's got a nice seafront. It's a strategic level of importance for like importing and exporting goods to Canada. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Milwaukee is under attack. We're all under attack. And then once the anthrax started happening, then kids would see that on the news and they'd think all the time, oh shit, is my arm itchy? And then the kids would tell their friends at school, like, oh, my arm itches today. And then a kid would hear that. They'd start scratching their arm. Next thing you know, there are news trucks that pull up to their school. And then every kid in the school is talking about, yeah, there's this itchy rash thing going around. And now you have like one small itch on your arm and you start scratching the hell out of that as a kid. And then that turns into a rash because you scratched it. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy that just kind of like took place across the entire country over the course of a couple months. And then it just kind of went away.
I think you could really wrap all of these up into self-fulfilling prophecies, like mass hysteria. Like there's some like initial event that happens. It's going to be foretold what's going to happen. And then it happens in a really non-convincing way subsequently.
We got to do an episode on Nostradamus too. And his prophecies and how you can take like anything that he ever said and apply it to whatever's going on. I might actually try to gamble on NFL games using Nostradamus.
You know, that's the name of my gambling hedgehog.
Formula.
Yeah. That's the Billy's got a hedgehog named Nostradamus.
Yeah, he's coming back for NFL.
I love
Can he
it.
be in your apartment?
Yeah.
Are you sure, Billy? Did you tell your landlord about your hedgehog?
Technically, under Mayor Bloomberg's 2004 referendum, after a tiger was found in one of like a project apartment with a crocodile, like you're not allowed to have exotic animals in.
Is are hedgehogs exotic?
Technically, but I don't live in a borough where that's valid.
Okay.
Kind of.
Hedgehogs are exotic, huh?
Yeah.
Did you base your housing situation on what the residential laws were governing hedgehog occupancy?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I figured. That's smart, though. You're growing up. Because a former Billy would have just lied to his landlord, which he probably did anyways, but a former Billy would have tried to move into a borough that had these laws in effect.
And, yeah.
So where you live, can you have chickens?
Chickens, but not roosters.
So can you bring me eggs?
No, because the chickens are in a good place. But also, you can't have a ferret in New York City for those same laws.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah.
Billy, just bring eggs in next week. That's
Okay,
your
well.
one job. So yeah, that's that was my case of mass hysteria, and there's really I don't think they even have a name for it. They just called it like post 9/11 anxiety and hysteria.
Yeah, I feel like that's just like coping with trauma.
It's coping with trauma, and it's also just kids watching the news every night. And that was a scary time to watch the news when it was like, okay, anthrax, it could be in any building that you go to, and also
Mail.
every single town is under attack from terrorists. I was convinced that terrorists were going to like shoot up my shopping mall when I was like a sophomore in high school, because in those weeks right after 9/11, everybody was so paranoid. It was like it's going to happen anywhere. Like it's hard to describe the mindset that we were all in, but we were like force fed all this fear and shit, and it turns out that like not really any of it ever happened.
It's kind of crazy. The war in Afghanistan is technically over as of today, I think.
Did we win?
The guy stepped down. We all got participation trophies.
Okay.
That's kind of fucked up. No, I'm sorry.
No, it's true.
But
You got a driver's license? You pay taxes?
yeah.
That's your participation trophy for funding the war.
Participated.
No, I mean, no, I'm a big fan of the troops. But it was like 20 years, and I'm 22, and I just, like, some of my earliest memories are of watching the Today Show and seeing, like just, like, war footage, like, on, like, the early morning news.
Billy, you can be a fan of the troops, but also be like, hey, I'd like for you to not get killed in the longest war in our nation's history.
True.
I think it's actually, that makes you a fan of the troops.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I just don't want people to get pissed off.
No one's pissed at you, Billy.
We're pro-troops.
We know that Billy's a troop lover. All right, before we get into the very last topic of mass hysteria, I want to talk to you guys about Roman swipes. A lot of you guys have tried different ways to last longer in bed. Thinking about baseball doesn't always work. That's why the folks at Roman, an online men's health company, are changing the game with Roman swipes. It's the secret to longer lasting sex. Roman swipes are a clinically proven way to last longer in bed. They're effective, they're easy to use, and they're fast acting, but they don't require a prescription. Roman can ship swipes to you in discreet, unmarked packaging, and each swipes packet is small enough to hide in your wallet for whenever you need it. They're super easy to use. You just take the swipes out, you swipe it on, you let it dry, and you're good to go. That's it. So go to GetRoman.com/dose. You can get your first month of swipes for just $5 when you choose a monthly plan. That's GetRoman.com/dose. Get your first month of swipes for just $5. And now, Mad Dog wants to talk to us about dicks. Yeah. All right. Well, that does it for my thing. Mad Dog, you got one last one to add?
I do. So I found one called Coro, which is also more known as the penis panic, which in 1967, hundreds of men became convinced that eating pork taken from a series of vaccinated pigs would lead to penis shrinkage or disappearance and potentially death. So basically, like, if you ate the wrong type of bacon, your penis would shrink. And so it required a concerted effort from the Singapore government to educate the male population about their genital organs and convince them that their conviction was not and could not be true. And Coro means shrinking penis in, what do they speak in Singapore?
Would that be, is that Tagalog? Or no, that's Philippines, right?
It's not
Singaporean?
language.
But it's interesting because the message that they're sending is like, you can't, that takes a shit on everything that Jenny McCarthy's tried to do with her like anti-vax stuff going back to the last 20 years. They just took her stuff and kicked it up to a notch that she could never even hope to attain, which is if you eat something that's been vaccinated, your dick's going to fall off. Mm-hmm. And she's really just kind of pussyfooted around the whole thing. Like, that really emasculates her.
Malay.
They speak Malay.
Or Mandarin.
So, did anybody's penis actually disappear?
No. So basically, there was no proof that any of this was happening. So, people in the United States and Europe called it genital retraction syndrome. So people basically, if like, again, I cannot speak for men, so you guys can let me know if this is true. But like, when it's cold and like your balls.
George Costanza.
Yeah.
Yeah, retracts.
Retract.
Well, it's I think that's because it needs to stay warm and close to the body.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I think that's what they were thinking. Like, and it was irreversible, which in fact it was reversible. So
It also just could have been like a bunch of dudes with tiny dicks.
right, being
then
like, oh,
they're-
this shrank.
Then their girlfriend sees him naked for the first time. He's like, "Oh my god, it just shrunk. It must you made me that fucking ground pork for dinner with the vaccinated pig. This is your fault."
yeah. So
Yeah.
the word is from Malay, and it means head of a turtle, referring to how it looks when they retract their head into their shells. And their episodes usually last several hours, so it's like a reverse, like boner.
Yeah, reverse boner.
So
I think we figured it out. I think it was just guys with small dicks.
yeah, so they kind of like
It's not usually the small babe, I swear.
no, they like kind of related it to body dysmorphia, where sometimes like people, if they have body dysmorphia, think their bodies like look way different than they do. So like you think your penis is way smaller than it actually is, or I mean, it's just you have a small dick. But in addition to retraction, other symptoms include a perception of alteration of penis shape and loss of penile muscle tone. I don't know what I do your penis muscles just make a boner?
I don't think I have a muscle in my dick. I don't know.
I think you have to.
Dude,
to have
I've
a
never,
boner.
I've never worked it out.
We're one of the only animals without a penile bone.
I thought you could. Can you?
There's not a bone.
You can fracture it, but
can't
there's no
breathe.
bone.
There's no
Oh,
bone.
like it's cartilage.
Yeah, it's something. It's like a tendon that you can snap. You snap it, and then it's apparently like super painful.
Who's the famous person that broke their dick? Or is that in a TV show?
John Bobbitt got his dick cut off.
Oh no, Sky
Steve-O.
Pippen.
He fractured his dick.
No,
Yeah.
Rodman. Rodman was
Oh,
the
Dennis
one.
Yeah,
Rodman.
yeah,
Scottie
Dennis-
Pippen had a hog, allegedly.
Still alive.
Yeah, probably still does. Yeah. Dennis Rodman fractured.
Johnny Knoxville broke his dick.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it also apparently can happen in women with their nipples, where their nipples
They can invert.
I guess.
Yeah.
But apparently it's because like the victims are known to have premorbid sex inadequacy and sexual promiscuity guilt over masturbation and impotence. So basically, like, it sounds like an excuse. So like,
Yeah.
sorry babe, yeah, like you PFT said, sorry babe, my penis is usually not,
My penis is usually way bigger than this.
Yeah,
I
my penis is
promise.
usually
I
huge.
got Coro.
yeah. So
Yeah, I thought there was like another episode of that happened in the early 2000s, I think, and some
it's
people.
happened like all over the world.
Yeah.
It so like back to the basically a lot of the cultures stressed like fertility and masculinity through their penises, and that like fertility and like basically this pressure caused this sort of outcry.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I mean, if like a guy that I was seeing was like, sorry, but it's usually not like this, but then they think it's irreversible. So then it's like, well, it is now.
Yeah. Well, there were also a bunch of guys that actually did injure their own dicks trying to pull their penises out because they thought that it was retracting, and so then they.
So they tried to like.
I read that they put
Pull it?
clothespins, like they'd use clothespins and like
Oh yeah.
try to dig their penises out, and then they'd actually give themselves a severe penis injury.
Yeah.
Trying to fix their dick,
They
which
would-
was not injured.
They would anchor it with a loop of string or some clamping device, like
Yeah, that's just
like.
artistic. That's just you're making a mobile at that point. It's called a pendulum.
So would like, you know how when you were like,
Let it
if you were
hang.
like a short kid, you would like hang on the monkey bars to try to like make yourself taller and like
Yeah.
elongate. Is it like the same thing?
Yeah, pretty much. You're just you're tying a weight around the end of your dick trying to pull
Pull
you,
it down.
because
Like you're trying to have gravity do
you're,
some work.
you're like, there's surely more penis inside my body than this. This can't be everything I was given. Let's see if we can't do a little excavating here. And then you end up just like having an unusable dick for the rest of your life.
Apparently, I don't know exactly where, but people who don't wear clothes, their penises are actually longer because
They're
they're
not
not wearing
stifled.
like underwear. They're not. It just hangs all day.
like
wow.
that. What's that?
Yes, that's like the women who don't wear shirts or anything or bras. It's the same thing.
Is it
It's in like certain tribes.
Well,
it's like
what's
an
that-
actual thing.
What's
People
that
have
tribe
done
that we talked
studies
about on
it.
that episode the other week ago where they don't have human contact?
the
the
Sentinelese Islands.
Sentinelese,
Yeah. Maybe they have big dicks.
Sentinelese Islands. They might.
Well,
I just
they
look
were
at
close?
it. I just look at it like iceberg theory. You
We
look
might get
at
a
you look down
Spotify
at your penis
contract.
and you're like, there's probably 90% of the dick that's not showing. If only I could extract half of that, then I'd be I'd be working with an absolute hammer right now. Big T, you've been pretty quiet about this whole penile retraction thing. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't know.
Billy, say it again.
What you working
Well,
with?
we
over there,
might we
Big
might get a Spotify contract.
What?
We keep talking
So
about
we-
penises.
Oh, yeah. I like that. This is
We might get keep it going.
Call Her Daddy, too.
No, macro.
Macro Daddy.
Macro.
Macro Daddy.
dick.
All right. Tune in next week. That should just be the title of our episode next week is, like, 9 steps to make your dick 4 inches longer. And then we just make up shit. But people are, like, you know how many dudes out there think that they've got, was this Koro?
Koro?
Yeah, we'll capture that entire audience right there. They'll be like,
Right.
finally a podcast about how to make
For
my
me.
dick bigger.
Yeah.
And then step 1 will just be like, jack off.
Yeah,
There you
but
go.
and it says right on our trusty Wikipedia page about Koro that a 15th century European manual for witchcraft investigations relates to stories of men claiming that their genitals had disappeared, being hidden by the devil so that they can neither be seen nor felt. So basically, like, if you were hooking up with a witch, your dick's gonna disappear. Oh my god!
I love dudes rock, man. Dudes are so undefeated when it comes to just like explaining away everything that's wrong with their dick by just blaming it on a woman.
True.
I mean, but that they like the people that were claiming that the witches made their dicks disappear also didn't know about the Koro, so they just like said that on their own. So there's like different stages of it.
Do you think that there's a any sort of correlation to some sort of STD? And then
Well, there was
think it's-
the David statue thing, where it's like
where he has a really
because
small dick.
well because these guys are in like they're anxious and scared about the situation that it was like, you know, the David statue that he's about to go fight Goliath.
Yeah.
And like, why is it like not, you know, why is he a grower, not a shower?
you saying
because
he's got a
he's
small
scared?
dick? The
No,
statue
'cause
of
he's-
David has a small dick.
Yeah, there's actually a thing on it.
Do your dicks get small when you get scared?
It's like
When you're in the pool, yeah.
They retreat.
Yeah.
there's sport mode.
Yeah, there is sport mode. Well, I'm terrible.
Yeah, David was in sport mode.
It makes sense because it's like that's less of you to grab for an opponent.
It's protecting.
Yeah. You become more aerodynamic too. I can run way faster.
It was the original Nike Pro Combat jerseys, just making it like super tight so that you can't get held.
So it's like,
Your
yeah.
scrotum tightens up into Under Armour, and then you can listen. I'm way faster. Have you ever tried to run with a boner? Almost impossible.
Yeah, I don't think
Do
you
you?
can.
Yeah. Wait. Oh no, I can't ask that on the podcast.
What were you gonna ask?
Well, you realize by saying that now you have
I-
to.
Do
Yeah.
your penises wrinkle like fingertips in the pool?
If it's in there, yeah. If you're in the water for a long time, it's not at its
I
maximum.
don't think so.
I don't think so.
Not like fingertips, but I think just in general, like your skin gets dehydrated all over your
Yeah,
body.
but it's not like fingertips though. It's not
Right.
like-
It's not.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
have-
what. Like, do they like the rate like when they look like raisins?
No.
No, my
No,
penis has never looked like a raisin.
They definitely like turtle up, but they don't. Yeah, they don't wrinkle.
All right. Well, that was. I'm glad that you brought that one up. Koro. I'm gonna file that in the back of my head next time I need an excuse. I got the Koro, baby. All right. Do we have anything else we want to get to this week? That was a good episode.
What a show.
Oh, UFO. I got a DM from a Navy pilot through a burner. So like,
Allegedly.
but I love this.
Allegedly,
I
but-
love when people say that like, yo, I'm a secret top like. But anyway, basically a lot of guys in flight school have been seeing UFOs, and it's like a phenomenon in the past like 20 or 30 years when they got new equipment that they were seeing these drone-sized objects moving in such a way that were like round. And he says that it's so commonplace, and everyone just decides to like, you know, talk about it, but not talk too much about it. And it's the general consensus that it's probably a domestic project, and in order to gather information on how other aircraft would react to the drones, that they're testing it on U.S. pilots.
Yeah, I got a similar DM to that too.
Yeah.
So basically saying that it's our own technology,
Yeah.
and the reason why it's primarily been found amongst like in places that they know that U.S. warplanes are going to be
Yeah.
flying is because they're trying to monitor how we respond. To
Like, how would a pilot respond to seeing UFO?
Yeah.
This is a theory. I found it through a burner, so you can't take it with a grain of salt.
I
Yeah.
should make a burner and just like DM Billy random.
See if you can get
Conspiracies.
if you can sneak one by him.
Yeah.
I think you can probably get that done. All right, cool. Anything
Sweet.
else?
Follow us on Instagram so we can get to 10K by August 1st.
Follow us on Instagram, Macrodosing. Follow us on YouTube. Smash that subscribe button on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And Arian, what color underwear is Big T wearing?
You know, he's like in a rotation of 3, so I think I'm gonna go with blue, navy blue.
I switched it up on him today.
I knew you
Oh,
would.
you
Damn it.
son of a bitch!
What is it?
Where'd you go?
The strap is navy blue.
Oh, navy blue.
Wait.
Oh, I didn't wear the ones I thought I did. They are striped, but it's like 2 blue.
It's blue. Yeah, you got it.
Let's go.
I
He's
thought
back.
Arian.
I thought I did red and blue stripes.
That's
He's
my
back.
first one since like week 2, bro. God
Yeah,
damn.
it's been a minute.
Damn.
I was
This is
on the
episode
roll
20,
right there.
by the way.
Is it really?
Yeah.
What?
Happy 20, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Happy 20. Feel free to give us suggestions about future episodes. We came up with a couple ideas today. What was it? Numerology.
Numerology, I'm with that one actually. That's fire.
There was another one that we.
Like explanations for monsters in medieval Europe.
Yeah, we talked
That's
about that today.
Like vampires, werewolves.
Yeah.
Loch Ness.
There's actually some pretty. Do you want to do? Should we do? We gotta do a cryptid episode, like cover-ups, conspiracies, cryptids. We haven't done any cryptids yet.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, we
The
gotta throw a
abominable snowman.
Not
Yeah, the Yeti.
Nessie.
Which
Yes,
one?
the one that's up in
Like
that's
Champ.
Just, that's just Billy, the reservoir that you swim in. That's just
Yes.
you. All right, we will see you guys next week on Macrodosing.
Macro Daddy.
Macro
Macro
Daddy.
Daddy.
Tune in next week on Macro Daddy. We give you 8 ways to make your dick 4 inches longer in 30 seconds or less.
Guaranteed, probably.
Improve your circulation, nitrous oxide levels.
Love you guys.